Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Twisted Tragedies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise. All right, so I apologize for not being here this morning. I actually slept through my alarm. I kid you not. Nobody is home but me today, so I slept like crap. I had a lot of pain in my legs last night, so kept waking up, slept through my alarm. Kids aren't home. Husband's not home. I'm the only one home. So there was nobody to be like, hey, your alarm's going off. So here I am now. All right. I know I did definitely need it. That is for sure. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Monica. I did need it. I did need some actual good rest. And I slept like absolute crap last night. So I apologize. We are going to go over the hearing. I already had it. Wait a second. Hold the hell on. I had the entire thing all the way up. What is happening here? Ugh. Annoying. Hold on a second, guys. I literally had the... Oh, here it is. That's why. Whoops. Wrong one. Let's do this. I know it was hard to hear for whatever reason. So we're going to attempt to see if... I know the volume's all the way cranked up, but... I guess headphone. I'm gonna tell you guys headphones are the best option right now. Okay, and then we're gonna watch something about someone who does like a sort of lie detector with Karen's interviews that I thought that was really interesting. So we're gonna do that right after this. This is only about 40 minutes ish. Stephen Stearns, Madeline Soto is the victim. Yeah, awful audio. That's why I'm saying it. You might need headphones to hear some of this. The audio is not great. That's why I have my headphones. So if you have headphones, I suggest you put them in, or you go into a really quiet room, or put it on your TV and not on your phone, because yeah, it's hard. It's not great audio. We've had worse, but it's not great. Madeline Soto's a victim. Stephen Stearns is this fella here in the orange, and he wants to be unshackled during his upcoming trial. So these are a couple of motions that we have going on. I'm going to play this. We'll skip through the boring parts, of course. And then we'll play the lie detector thing, which I think is really cool. All right, ready? Here we go. Like to address
No problem. Tagging on the first motion, Alex Johnson for the defense. We'd like to address defendant's motion to remove newspapers from courthouse during pendency proceedings.
All right, thank you.
As to argument for this motion, defense did have pre-marked this morning. I would move into evidence as one what's been pre-marked today. A copy of the Osceola News Gazette that was present in the lobby this morning, which directly addresses the Stephen Stearns trial to begin July 22nd on the front page of the newspaper.
State has no position here.
Thanks. We received the defense one for purposes of this.
So like I said, you guys might want to use headphones because the audio is awful. I don't know. Let me see if this closed captioning. Hold on.
So as to this motion, with the recent denial of the motion to continue, the trial is set to begin next week in this courtroom. And as jurors, potential jurors and jurors that are selected in the trial walk into the courthouse, right in front of security or right beyond security is a slew of newspapers, including newspapers like the Osceola News Gazette, which every time we've had court appearance, Stephen Stearns has appeared on the front page of the newspaper, and the newspapers constantly indicate that there's both a sex case that is currently pending, which is what we're here for this morning, as well as a capital murder. So defense is requesting that just during the pendency of the trial, not ongoing standing order going forward, that we remove these papers so that way the jurors, as they come in and go about the courthouse.
Right, the state takes no position. I have confirmed with jury services that jury services do not provide newspapers to potential jurors. Court always has to be careful balancing the right to free press and the right to open and fair jury trials. I do find that should there be newspapers available where the jurors, can you give me some guidance as to where this table is downstairs? Is it over by the employee area? Is it where the general public would come in?
It's where the general public comes in. It's so if you're looking at the first floor, there's the area where you go to the elevators, and then there's the mirror there.
Yes.
It's the table's right in front of that.
Under the progress screens.
Yeah, exactly.
I have inquired as to our court administration who provides the newspapers. I think that's a county function. We have proactively reached out to the county to see if we can suspend the delivery of newspapers during the jury selection process and throughout the trial. So your motion is preliminarily granted. The court will direct parties that provide the newspapers not to do so during the jury selection or trial process.
Yes, Judge. Defenses would next like to proceed on the defense's motion to order all media to adhere to the rules of judicial administration and administrative order. Essentially, Judge, defense is asking according to, as the rules require, that the media, and since defense is on the left side of this courtroom and the media is positioned directly behind us, their cameras intentionally and inadvertently, I'm not saying that they're doing it intentionally, it's focused on counsel's table in order to get the misdiscrepancies of that nature. So in positioning, counsel's computer screens are in view of the media. So defense is requesting that the media not be allowed to look at, zoom in on, or otherwise project essentially onto counsel's table because of work product and attorney-client confidentiality. I understand that attorney-client confidentiality, we have to essentially affirmatively attempt to protect it. And when you have communications, we do mute the mic. However, because the table is so large and facing, it's just asking the media not be ordered, not be allowed to zoom in on our computers or our computer screen under the administrative order.
Okay, so what they're asking at this point, because you can't really hear, I mean, you can, but with headphones, but it's hard. That's why I put the closed captionings on. Also, I don't know why the judge's microphone is like this big and way, way down here. I've never seen that before. Either way, what they're asking is basically an order for the media that they're not allowed to zoom in on counsel table because of, you know, paperwork, work product, blah, blah, blah. So they want an order for the media that they can't do X, Y, or Z, or they're allowed to do X, Y, and Z. It's standard things that a lot of, you know, high profile cases do. We saw it in the Karen retrial where they weren't allowed to go on to Karen for more than like 10 seconds or whatever amount of seconds it was at a time. And they complained about the Karen cam, which is ridiculous because that's what Zoom does. And so I don't, in my opinion, it's a public trial, right? That's the whole point. You can't fit the entire public into a small courtroom. That's very clear. So when these trials are streamed, I don't think media should be focusing obviously on paperwork, but we should have a right to see the defendant, their faces, and also the faces of prosecution and defense counsel. Again, public trial. There's a reason why we have public trials. If you're going to televise it, if you're going to choose to televise it, we should be allowed to see that. And I even argue the jury. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to keep this going for a minute.
It says that communications between attorneys and their clients, between counsel and co-counsel, or anything that's held at the event is required not to be reported or broadcasted. So because it's positioned that anything that's occurring essentially at counsel's table in terms notes, whether that be handwritten notes or computer screen notes, not be looked at. The defense has taken affirmative steps to have a privacy screen and additionally dimming the lighting on the laptops. However, even with that, it still is doable for the media, and sitting in court with dim screens and dark lights for multiple hours is going to cause a headache, but also to protect not only Mr. Stearns' confidentiality, but potential other clients' information who we're working on while hearing court. Media to look at zooming in on computers or counsel's tickets.
Generally, the state doesn't have a position. However, I think if the court is going to issue an order, it needs to be everybody in the courtroom, not just specifically media personnel.
Are you saying to the state as well, in terms of media personnel, or anyone not being able to do it?
There's a lot of amateur media people that will cover this trial, and they use phones, from my experience in other high-profile trials. So the order should be broad enough that it covers everybody in the courtroom, perhaps even an order that people in the gallery should not be allowed to have their phones out during the trial. Yeah. Sometimes they need daily reminders. Sometimes they need multiple daily reminders, but they also focus on the state's computer, and we are obviously against that for the same reasons.
All right, our relationship with the media has been a good one. They're an essential community partner. And as I said, the court's going to strive to ensure that this is both an open trial and a fair trial. The days of passing notes back and forth are behind us. A little experience working with each of the attorneys here. I know that your coordination with witnesses, with each other, with presentation, with evidence is highly computerized. We'll expect that the media will comply with Florida Rule of Judicial Administration 2.450, as well as our Administrative Order 2023-23. That order is fairly specific under subsection 2E, indicates that representatives may not cover sidebar or bench conferences, no recordings of conferences or information that occurs between attorneys and clients, between co-counsel, between counsel and presiding judge of the bench. I've done several trials where the media was involved. The only violations of 2.450 in our administrative order, in my opinion, have been inadvertent. Issues were when a camera operator perhaps went to a wide shot that included faces of the jurors during the trial, or there was a microphone that was inadvertently picking up communications through the microphones at the counsel table after the microphones had been apparently muted by the attorneys. These are technical issues. We have a technical team here that the media is absolutely welcome to coordinate with. The administrative rule gives the media an opportunity to meet with our court administration if they have any questions about what the court's expectations will be. The court will expect that the media representatives will be credentialed pursuant to the rule. Non-credentialed members will not be permitted to have out cell phones as members of the general public. So I see no issue with.
One problem I have with that. Okay. Right? Call your technical team now. Here's the thing. Okay. And I heard the judge say only credentialed members of the media will be allowed. The issue that I find with this whole credential thing is lots of people are journalists. You don't have to have credentials to be a journalist, okay? Or an independent journalist. And he's saying things like, oh, you can't use a phone. Well, I would say that would unfairly rule out smaller media, independent media, and things of that nature. So I find a serious problem with that, because under our laws, you don't have to be credentialed to be a journalist or to be a part of the media. You should have integrity and ethics and follow journalistic ethics, which we know some people who don't. I think there absolutely should be some, set of rules for how you should behave absolutely, of course, have some decorum. But saying things like, well, they can't use their phones. Not every, especially smaller startup journalists or independent media, do not have giant $5,000, $10,000, $30,000 cameras. Okay? They have phones or smaller cameras. That would be unfairly barring journalists from the courtroom. Now, there's a reason why when you go and apply for, you know, your media pass, or, you know what I mean? The laws cover anybody who reports. It doesn't have to be a specific way. It doesn't have to be about a specific thing. It doesn't have to be a specific time. For me, what that says is only mainstream media allowed. And the problem, I have a very serious issue with that, because unfortunately, mainstream media no longer can be trusted. They do what the big boss tells them, and what their big boss has, you know, if he's got some deals with some buddies, you're not reporting on those buddies. If those buddies are funneling money into one of his projects, that story's dead. Independent media doesn't have those restrictions. We are our own bosses. So therefore, there's no one that's going to say, here, you can't report on this because, you know, I have a deal going with this person. We're going to bring it all out, whether the mainstream media likes it or doesn't like it. You know, they care more about ratings and things of that nature. We don't have ratings. I mean, we have views, but I'd rather report the truth than care about many more views, as you guys know. See, that's the thing. It should be no problem to get a media pass if you are reporting on something, period. It's a public trial anyway. So if you have set up a YouTube channel, a TikTok, a website, there should be no issue in you being allowed in as a independent journalist. And restricting things like cell phones for those people, you're basically saying, and I get why they do it, because you don't want everyone in there being like, well, I'm a journalist, so I have a phone, obviously. But you got to put something into the sphere here. It is a public courtroom. These are public trials, and I do understand having some leeway on, hey, the media can't, you know, draw the camera into the work product, which is, you know, the paperwork they have on their desks. Nobody should be doing that. I agree with that. But it is a public trial. We should be able to see all the faces of all the people, including the jury, because if you walked into that as a regular person who wanted to go sit and watch that trial, you would have every right to see everyone, including the jury. Including the jury. That really never made sense to me, that a lot of the time, hold on. A lot of the time, they won't show the jury. It's like, but if I walked into that courtroom and I sat down, I could watch the jury, couldn't I? Why? Because it's a public trial and the public has the right. The part that starts to get to me is when they say, hey, you know, it's a public trial, but we can only fit 50 members of the public. Well, if 500 members of the public are interested to sit and watch that trial, that is why it's a public trial. They have the right to. So why is it being restricted to 50? In that case, that is why it's televised. But if it's televised, it should have the same level of what anybody who's sitting in that courtroom can see, period. Restricting journalists, especially independent media, based on what kind of camera they have, that is discriminatory, period. And I'm waiting for an independent media company to sue, and I'm sure it's happened in many states already, A, over things that, you know, certain states ask for to be credentialed, and B, over things like, oh, well, we can only have one pool camera, you got to get the pool camera footage, you can't use your, well, that's fine for bigger news stations, those types of media, but what about independent media? They have the right to have footage just as much as Channel 5 or 7 does. And to say, well, no cell phone cameras, that is restricting a business of a journalist, an independent journalist, to be able to do the same thing that a large company with a lot of endless money has. And I think that's wrong. You know? Well, that's the thing. Anybody should be able to get a media pass. Some states make it difficult for you to get one. They have certain restrictions in place that have been challenged by the courts because they favor larger, non-independent media. That's not the way it works. You would appeal and sue if you are denied it. I have thought about applying for them, but there's only one case up and coming that I would sit in, and until Massachusetts changes their rules on how to conduct themselves when it comes to independent media, I think I will stream them from here. Because sitting in the courtroom is great and all, you get a sense of the jury and all that stuff, but at the same time, what the hell is going on with, oh crap, the honor killing trial is starting right now. Shit. Let's see. All right, basically, we're skipping through that part. That's just the media stuff, boring anyway.
Since March of 2017.
And is your primary assignment to this courtroom that we're actually in right now?
Yes.
Are there policies in place for the use of any type of restraints during a felony criminal trial or an accused?
That's correct.
And how many felony criminal trials have you participated in as a court judge?
You were countless. I can't remember how many.
That's fair. What type of devices or restraints are available?
He doesn't want to have shackles or be restrained during his trial.
Out of the view of members of the jury.
Yeah, they do have the shortest
So,
lengths. I agree. They're like this big.
Has two, one device is kept downstairs in the first floor, which is a stun cuff. And in the courtrooms, we have a leg brace.
And a leg brace.
How is a leg brace utilized by court deputies during the pendency of a criminal trial?
So a leg brace is essentially a long bar. It has 4 straps. In the center, there's a tab that you can pull so the person can sit down. Otherwise, the bar won't bend. So basically what happens is when the person sits, it bends, but when they stand up, it just locks. It prevents the person to run away. They would have to essentially hop away because that leg is.
No, yeah, nothing is going to make them look good. I honestly don't know why they argued this to begin with. Here's my thought on it. I'm skipping through a bit of that because they're just going to ask a bunch of random questions about restraints. But a lot of the time, you see them unrestrained. So unless he has caused issues in the prison or been extremely violent, during transport. Again, guys, I worked in a prison. I did transport, been there, done this. And the only time we would ask that the person stay restrained during a trial is if they were someone who would try to run, try to fight all the time. Again, I don't know. Yeah, it's like 60 charges on these ones. Well, he allegedly killed Madeline Soto, who was 13 years old. Scumbag. But if they're asking for the restraints, I don't see why. Usually a judge lets you be unrestrained during your trial, at least your hands unrestrained during the trial. Sometimes they still keep the shackles like on your feet, but they unrestrain your hands. And sometimes they just unrestrain you altogether. So the bottom line in this is they say no, okay? He does not get unrestrained. This guy's just going to go on talking about different restraints and what they could or couldn't do, or what's his issue. You know, he's in
If he
custody.
was sitting at council table, he wouldn't have to have on, or she would not have to have on a stun cuff or a leg brace, correct?
Right.
And writing utensil. If a person was out of custody, they also would not have to use
Correct.
FlexiPen, correct?
We normally give them flex.
Even a person who's out of custody?
No.
In terms of, I know you talked a lot about safety. Are you aware of any attempted escapes or anything like that for Mr. Stearns?
Mr. Stearns or any other inmate?
Mr. Stearns specifically.
No.
Okay, so I don't understand why they're even asking.
Can I have a moment, Judge?
Right, throw in Gen Pop. I find this really strange that they're arguing about restraints. Normally, this isn't even something that's argued because it's kind of easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let them be unrestrained during their trial so that there's no look to the jury, like a bias to the jury, that they look like they're guilty because they're being restrained. He's saying the guy has had no issues fighting or escaping or anything like that.
A marker, we would give it to him without the cap, would be sufficient. He would be able to write and communicate with us easily and effortlessly without having to worry about him stopping or not working and things of that nature. So we're asking for the use of a regular writing utensil felt tip pen to utilize. And then in terms of the restraints, again, we're asking for Mr. Stearns to be free of physical restraint. I understand the policy of the sheriff's office for that nature. However, it's not a general policy that applies across the board. Escape attempts,
Right, this is the record. Safety, safe. Basically, internal tube that has the ink in it, surrounded by a clear rubber tube. Also about 3 inches long. Essentially different than writing instruments that the attorneys.
Yeah, absolutely not. I have children, you know. I agree with you. It definitely would be the stupidest thing he ever did, because there'd be some people waiting for him if he tried to escape.
2004, in that case, there was a defendant that was charged with a serious crime.
I agree with you guys.
In the appeal, they took issue with the electronic restraining device and belt in that case. In that case, the defense cited the United States v. Durham, it's 287.
The judge's microphone is going in and out. It's really obnoxious.
In that case, the 11th Circuit indicated that a stun belt poses a greater threat to the dignity of the courtroom than shackles that were based on a potential that it is reasonable to assume that much of a defendant's focus and attention when wearing a stun belt is occupied by anxiety over a possible triggering of the belt. Interestingly, in that case, there was an accidental discharge of the stun belt that occurred outside of the presence of the jury.
Ooh.
Supreme Court in that case found that the judge's discretion in exercising
Ouch.
the discretion to wear a stun belt was warranted. However, in that case, the defendant was pro se and was permitted freedom of movement about the courtroom. So the court
Pro se means you're representing yourself, folks. So what the judge is saying is, in the case that he is citing from the 11th Circuit with the stun belt, it was accidentally discharged on the person outside the presence of the jury, but still accidentally discharged and stunned the person who was acting pro se, which is as your own attorney. So they were permitted to walk around, because you have to question, you know, the witnesses and do all those things. And so walking around with a stun belt on, which it accidentally discharged, that's a no-go. That's a no-go.
The Weaver case surmised that there was no lesser alternatives other than the stun belt to allow freedom of movement, as well as accomplishing the.
So that's so funny that they say that. There was no other alternative, right, except for the stun belt to allow that person to have freedom of movement as a pro se attorney. And you guys just brought up, Debbie just brought up Sarah Boone. An ankle one would work, number one. I don't think a belt was necessary, but B, in plenty of states, somebody acting as pro se, even in custody, does not wear a stun anything. They are permitted freedom of movement around the court without anything on at all, because they have court officers there for a reason. That's their freaking job. Okay. So I find it funny that they need a stun belt or a stun, anklet. I could see, once again, if the person has a history of shoe business, for instance, put a stun belt on shoe business, go for it. Taylor shoe business absolutely needed a stun everything. Okay. But if there's no history of that kind of behavior and they're acting, especially pro se, they should have freedom of movement around the courtroom. Does anybody not remember Ted Bundy? You know what I mean? There was no stun belts back then. There was no stun anklets back then. They have to, as pro se, be able to move around. I don't even really know why this is an argument. Either keep the shackles on him or don't.
Concerns, which was a concern regarding escape or
Concerned about escape. That's why you have court officers. Hello? What do they get paid for if everything's going to do their job for them? Just saying. I worked in a prison, so we didn't have that.
The court has never had an accidental discharge of the stun cuff. The court has not before had any indications that the stun cuff was visible to the jury. The court before has never been presented with the argument that a defendant was preoccupied by the wearing of the stun cuff. But in this case, Mr. Stearns will not have freedom of movement.
Right, just keep the anklet chains on. What's the big deal?
Of the leg brace, the court as well has never received a complaint about the comfort of a leg brace, because Mr. Stearns will not have freedom of movement, certain prejudice to a fair trial proceeding to have Mr. Stearns wear a leg brace that would, in the unlikely event, not be compliant, stand up and make an effort to exit the courtroom. That would lock and give the resources that are on hand and opportunity.
But again, that's what court officers are for. If he tries to flee, that's why you have court officers. Hello? No, he's not representing himself. They're just talking about a separate case that was argued in the 11th Circuit.
It's not before received a complaint about the comfort of that particular device.
It's basically how the judge is making he's citing this other case in the 11th Circuit because it's a case that was decided, so it's a precedent, right? It's how he's going to decide this motion right now based on the legal precedent on things that are similar or the same when it comes to this. And so that he cites this case and explains it so that people understand why he's making the decision that he's making, which judges don't always do, by the way. They might write it in their written decision, but they don't always say it all like that out loud. So I can appreciate that.
That would be prejudicial in the court finds that a consideration of due to the layout of this courtroom, proximity to the jury, proximity to the exit of the courtroom, and the severity of the allegations, the emotional nature of the surely to be presented that a leg brace is warranted to implement it while he is present in the courtroom. Also have a private area that I'll address continuing concerns with.
Yeah, Bev didn't do any of that.
That is going to conclude our hearing. Use of the pen. He'll be provided with a felt pen. I'm going to ask that that be specific to Mr. Stearns. That will remain in the courtroom. When he comes and goes, he can't have the flex pen in the back if he needs to write notes while we are not present in front of the jury. The court understands the concerns of the deputies, and I simply sympathize with that. The layout or the construction of the flex pen is different than construction of ordinary pens. I fear that it may create a question in the mind of the jury as to his demonstrative status. Provided with a felt pen.
Just a logistical matter, Your Honor. We are intending to bring a whiteboard.
Exactly.
For the president.
I agree with you, LGZ. I think he's full of shit trying to save face. You and I both know that.
As much as we can, the sensitive nature of the material that we must show to the jury. So logistically, I just wanted to bring it to the court in defense's attention.
Will this be on a card?
Yes.
I agree with you. Through the library at him.
What do you need from me? Place to put it?
We can bring it up when we are intending to use it. I just wanted the court to know because I know some.
We know that firsthand.
The court is going to need to get down the evidence. I anticipate that we'll get closer to the jury. Family who is also going to be present. View of it also.
Oops.
Other individuals.
Thanks, I understand.
Like, I don't know how they're going to do this trial if you can't hear a fucking thing.
Is unlawful in and of itself. I am happy to provide the courtroom on the afternoon, 21st, if you want to wheel your equipment up and or have your tech folks do so. Gameplay how you would like to present that. The attorneys will obviously have an opportunity to move about the courtroom as they need to observe evidence. Mr. Stearns also has a right to view the evidence being considered against him. So we're going to have to accommodate all of those competing interests to ensure that the jury has an opportunity to review the evidence that the state intends to present. Does the state intend to close the courtroom or request a closure of the courtroom during the presentation of any testimony or evidence?
I do not. I'm in Massachusetts, unfortunately. But I'll email them and tell them
The intention
that their
of
mics suck.
utilizing the whiteboards that
Nobody can hear.
only individuals that have to view the content. We do not have a surviving victim to testify in this case, so I don't know that we necessarily have a right to close
The mics are going in and out.
proceedings.
They're not close enough to them.
Sensitive nature of the material that is going to be presented in the form of actual videos and photos and things. The state intends to utilize the whiteboard in an effort to prevent other individuals that do not need to see that evidence.
Anticipated some of the evidence was multimedia, and I didn't know whether that had sound or what the position was.
There are, I believe, 5 counts that are video with sound.
If the state makes a determination that closure of court was warranted pursuant to statute and victim rights, Marcy's law, I'll ask that that's your intention. You present that in writing, and we'll address that. That's.
I believe that those are all the
But as I said, the court will make itself available for the rest of this week and on Monday for access to the courtroom if you have specialized concerns, equipment concerns.
So this is mostly just about them going over evidence and stuff for the court in advance of trial.
Staff prior to jury selection beginning on Tuesday, the 22nd.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of cases are like that. That's pretty much the end of that. A lot of cases are like that where it's thousands, even hundreds or thousands of pieces of evidence. Unfortunately, hold on, there's something else. Hold on a second. I forgot that the honor killing trial was today. Girl, listen, I have tinnitus in one ear, so listen, you know me. We'll talk later. You know me. I can't hear shit. This ear is the one that I have the tinnitus in, so it's just ringing and ringing and ringing, and I never had that problem. And I worked in clubs for 10 years, and I never had tinnitus until after I had COVID, which was really strange, and now I have all this inflammation in my body, including myocarditis of the heart, which, again, I didn't have before. So thanks, appreciate that, COVID. But we do have, crap. This case is really disturbing, as you guys know. The parents are charged. Okay? With killing their child in like an honor style type killing. Okay? All right. This is actually quite interesting. It's one that I didn't get into until pretty late. It just started today's opening statements. So I follow, obviously, you know, I follow a lot of Massachusetts cases, but I follow a lot of cases a lot of places. And this one is really, it's one of those really twisted cases, okay? Have a good day. I mean, they're child, but not like a baby child. So it's an interesting case. And like I said yesterday to you guys, sometimes these types of cases are actually ones that need attention to them because they're uncomfortable, you know, and people don't want to talk about it. But if we don't talk about it, right, then the victims feel like they have to hide forever as well of things like this. You know, suppose this person survived, then they have to feel shame, and we don't want that. We are a victim-friendly place. A lot of us are survivors of a real lot of trauma, and there's no better way to shine light on this and let victims speak than letting them know that they're not alone. And even taboo subjects and things that make us uncomfortable, we will still cover in a way that they know that they're not alone. You know, like we talked about yesterday. Welcome, by the way, Debbie. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. We'd love to have you back.
Ali, Ms. Stone, and Ms. Zoe are present on behalf of the state. Mr. Kading is present with Mr. Ali, representing Mr. Ali, and Mr. Leary is present with Mrs. Ali and representing Mrs. Ali. We are before the court on a continuation of trial. My understanding is that we have a new and/or.
Also, by the way, I didn't do this morning, but if you'd like to make sure that you show your love and support for the channel, you can hit that like button. You can hit the subscribe button. You can change your bell notifications from most to all so that you always get an alert when we are on. We would love to always have all of you. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate you. Listen, girl, we are one very big, amazing, loving community here, and you'll find lots of support here. We have some great mods. We have some great guests. We have very smart and compassionate individuals, and we're always happy to grow that community. I'm very proud of it. Hey, I would have sent you a link, but see, you are at work, sir. Other ways you can support the channel are making sure that you get a membership. Our lowest tier is $4 a month. I do have an option for you people who can't do it on Apple devices, which is like a new thing from your phone. I have a QR code that I am attempting to download up into my email so I can get it on here for you guys. That Murder by Maestro made me because they are amazing, and I would not have known how to make it myself. Absolutely, Debbie. Absolutely. Thank you, B. Tim, for your super sticker, my friend. I appreciate you. Yes, Maestro's we are we're close. And so I appreciate that Meister made me that, because I would not be able to freaking make that thing myself. I would not have even known. The best ways you can support the channel are these ways: Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Revolut. And we have a link up at the top of the chat that's pinned there that you can just use your credit or debit card. You can enter any amount you want. And it does go through PayPal, but you don't need PayPal. All you need is a debit card or a credit card. Those are the fastest ways to get to the channel, because everything else goes through YouTube and takes like more than a month. But these are the best options for a small channel like mine, and we appreciate any and all support, because we are still little. We are still trying to grow in the community, and any help is always welcome. Some people prefer the wish lists. We have 2 of those. We have one on Amazon and one from Walmart. They are in the description of the video, just like the rest of this stuff, and also the main part of our YouTube. You can find all that stuff. I am working on making I Love Your Stinking Faces merch, and Twisted Twusband merch for the husbands of Twisted Tragedies, and a couple other things that I've been working on here and there. I've been swamped with, most of I do a lot of stuff besides this, like outside of the stream itself, for other cases, for other people, my advocacy work, and all the other stuff that I deal with, including, taking care of my biological dad, who's very sick, and I don't know how much time he really has. And then most of I have a very ill daughter. So I'm trying to balance everything at once here, folks. But I know I'm working on the Twusband shirts. I promise. I'm trying to find a different shop. There's like one shop, like Teesprings. It's not great. There aren't a lot of options. So I'm trying to find another shop to, connect to the channel that has a lot more options and maybe better prices, because they're set at the lowest amount for me to, like, literally they set the prices themselves at like the lowest amount for, so for instance, say something's $40. I make anywhere between like $6 and $8 off of it for something that's like $40 to $50. So I can't go much lower than that on those. And so for instance, like the stickers, they're like $6 or something, the cut dye stickers. I make like $1, I think it is, on those. So I'm trying to find a better, like where the prices can be lower, you know what I mean? Because I don't like how high the prices are. So I'm looking for better options. And so I'm working on that kind of stuff behind the scenes. So yeah, I don't like how high the prices are. It makes me uncomfortable. I'm a low income person, so I don't want my viewers to be like, wow, that's expensive. It is expensive. But again, since they're the ones shipping it, making it, and I just design it, they take the largest. Yeah, I know. They take the largest cut. So and I can't make them myself. I have a Cricut, but I cannot possibly make all that with all the other stuff I got going on. It just won't work. I won't have the time. I'll already stretched too thin. There's no chance. Girl, listen, I've done it. All right. I've done it. And I know my limits, because I could do it, but I would never sleep. So, so I don't attempt it, because I know that I will just keep going until all of them are done. All the orders are done, and it'll be never ending. I will never get any sleep or rest. So I'm not going to attempt that. I'm just going to find a better option that does the shipping and making of them for me. So I got to shop around a little to find the best option and cheaper prices and have more options. The shop that I have doesn't have many options. There's like, shirts, cups, glasses. There's not much, if anything else. It used to have like pet bowls and pet outfits, which I loved. None of that is there anymore. I don't know why. So I'm looking for a better option. I'll be working actually on some of that today. Hey girl, hey. All right, back to the honor killing thing. And then if we have time, I do want to watch the lie detector thing, because I think it's kind of cool. Actually, you know what? We might just pop that on right before this real quick, because it's interesting. Let me see. Let me see if I can get it up real quick. Hold on. Let's see here. Here it is, right here. All right. Okay. This was interesting. I watched a bit of most of this morning, and then we'll pop the honor killing trial back on. But this I found quite freaking interesting. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Reed was responsible for the death of John O'Keefe, but a lot of people think she was innocent. In this video, I'm going to compare her different TV interviews with data. To me, things are not really adding up, and she changed her statement several times. Before I start getting into those interviews, here are a few important points to remember. Karen's car data revealed at 12:24 a.m., she and John parked at Fairview. John's phone data revealed his GPS location was never in the house. At 12:27 a.m., Jen McCabe texted John, "Here," with a question mark and exclamation point, and he read it 15 seconds later without replying. At 12:29 a.m., Jen called John. Phone records show he answered for 7 seconds, but Jen testified she never spoke to him after giving directions at 12:18. At 12:30 a.m., John's phone disconnected from Karen's SUV Bluetooth. Between 12:31 and 56 seconds and 12:32 and 16 seconds, John took 36 steps in 20 seconds. This was the first time in the 7 minutes since parking that John took steps. At 12:32 a.m., John looked at Jen's message stating to pull behind her car, and 3 seconds later, he locked his phone, and 7 seconds after that, John's phone stopped moving until it was found under his body near the flagpole around 6 a.m. Also at 12:32 a.m., Karen's car went in reverse up to 24 miles per hour, which is debated by experts. A minute later, at 12:33, it was the first time Karen called or texted John since they arrived at Fairview. 12:36 a.m., Karen connected to John's home Wi-Fi network. From videos I've seen online, the quickest time from Fairview to John's house was 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Finally, at 12:37 a.m., Karen left John a voicemail that said, "John, I effing hate you." Also important to remember are the 3 eyewitnesses outside Fairview. After Karen turned onto Fairview at this intersection, a pickup truck with 3 people on the opposite side also turned onto Fairview, and they were behind her and John for approximately 5 minutes as a guest came out to talk and then returned to the party. The truck left and passed Karen's SUV and saw her in the driver's seat with the interior light on, which is usually on after somebody opens the door, but they did not see John. They never saw anyone get out of Karen's SUV the entire time they were parked behind her. Next, I'm going to play a lot of interview clips of Karen. I think it's best to watch the clips in their full context first, and then I'll analyze certain phrases. For some of these interviews, I had trouble screen recording the video part of it. So for sections where I only have the audio, I overlaid a screenshot. Here is what Karen said on Investigation Discovery.
So I'm driving and John got on the phone with Jen and he's telling me it's 34 Fairview. And we arrive at 34 Fairview. It didn't look like there was any soiree going on. It didn't look inviting. The outside was dark and I didn't see any familiar looking vehicles. And I said, "John, can you make sure we're welcome?" He said, "I'll run in." So when John got out of the car at Brian Albert's house, he took my full vodka soda, which is sitting in the cup holder. And he walked up the driveway, and John always kind of skipped and walked at the same time. He was always in a rush. And I saw him reach the breezeway door, which is the side front door. And he opened the door and went to walk in. And I waited probably a minute and he doesn't come. And it only took like 2 or 3 minutes for me to be irritated. So I called him. I didn't want to wait for him to respond to a text and he didn't answer. I said, "You've got to be kidding me. What are you doing? You just went in and I'm sitting here. Either we're welcome or we're not, but it shouldn't take you 5 minutes to determine that." And then about 10 minutes went by and I left and I was not happy. But little did I know, John was not getting my phone calls. And then that was it. The last I ever talked to him was when he got out of my car at Brian Albert's house. It didn't look like there was any soiree going on. It didn't look inviting. The outside was dark and I didn't see any familiar looking vehicles.
The Alberts testified that they usually had 3 to 4 cars in their driveway. Plus, Karen had likely seen the McCabe's and Brian Higgins' cars previously, and there was a pickup truck behind her with its lights on for several minutes.
And I said, "John, can you make sure we're welcome?" He said, "I'll run in."
While leaving the waterfall, Jen asked Karen if she wanted to ride with her to the after party at Jen's sister's house. And Karen heard John on the phone getting directions from Jen a few minutes before they arrived. Why would Karen think they were not welcome after they just happily hung out with these people?
So when John got out of the car at Brian Albert's house, he took my full vodka soda, which is sitting in the cup holder.
Karen lied to police and said she did not leave CF McCarthy's bar with a glass. But it's on video, and people at Waterfall said they laughed when Karen pulled it out after she arrived with John. John was on video leaving Waterfall with a small glass, and a broken small glass was found near his body.
And he walked up the driveway, and John always walked, kind of skipped and walked at the same time. He was always in a rush. And I saw him reach the breezeway door, which is the side front door. And he opened the door and went to walk in. And I waited probably a minute, and he doesn't come.
The pickup truck with 3 people was parked at the driveway, and others also stated that Karen was parked in line with the front door. Julie Nagel, the sister of one of the people in the truck, did say she looked out from the dining room table and saw an SUV at the mailbox near the driveway before her brother pulled up. But she later went out and talked to him and said he was parked along the driveway. So it seems Karen quickly pulled up when the truck pulled behind her. Julie testified about the location she saw the SUV.
She is
outside.
trash.
I saw it pull up, stopped, pulled up again, stopped, pulled up again by the flagpole, stopped. That's all I saw.
But Julie did not remember seeing it when she talked to her brother at the end of the driveway. Those 3 people in the truck said no one ever got out of Karen's SUV. 9 people inside said John never came in. John's phone data showed 12:31 was the first time he took steps after they arrived at 12:24. And the
Right.
center dot of his GPS phone location never showed in the house. There was some data with low accuracy that did include a radius, including the house, but a few seconds later, as the accuracy improved, the radius did not include any part of the house. Karen's
Nope.
story does not add up with the electronic data and the
Nope.
recollections of many eyewitnesses who were all consuming alcohol, and some of their stories don't add up either. But for this video, I'm focusing on Karen's stories.
And it only took like 2 or 3 minutes that
Their stories
created me
do,
irritated.
if you
So I
know
started, like,
the
calling him.
answers
I
to the
didn't wanna wait
mundane
for him to
questions.
respond to a text, and he didn't answer. I said, "You've got to be kidding me. What are you doing? You just went in and I'm sitting here. Either we're welcome or we're not, but it shouldn't take you 5 minutes to determine that." And then about 10 minutes went by, and I left.
Karen's SUV stopped at 12:24, and the first time phone records showed she called or texted John was 9 minutes later at 12:33. She had to have been gone from Fairview by that time
Yep.
because her phone connected to John's home Wi-Fi at 12:36. It appears Karen lied about calling John while she was parked at Fairview. If she is innocent,
She did.
why is she lying about these
Why
things?
lie?
Next
Right.
up are Karen's interviews with ABC on 2020 and Nightline.
I missed the turn. That would have been the most direct route.
Did you pull into the driveway?
No, I pulled at the foot of the driveway.
And do you and John have a conversation about what's going to happen?
I said, "Go check and let me know, and I'll follow you behind." So I pull at the foot of the driveway. I said, "Can we make sure we're welcome here?"
She didn't say
Nobody
that.
extended the invite to me. I didn't hear the invite extended to you. So I pull at the foot
It
of the
was.
driveway.
She
It's
knew it.
snowing. John has no coat on. It's windy. So I drop him off. He goes up the driveway and approaches the side door. And as I see him approach the door, I look down at my phone. I hadn't been on my phone the entire night. I cue up a song to play on my Bluetooth, and I just start browsing through, missed text messages and a couple emails. And I probably waited about a full minute, and I look back at the door. I would have expected him to be either walking back to me or calling me that, "Yeah, we're here."
Reed says after about 10 minutes of waiting in her car, she became
Hey, Erica.
irritated that O'Keefe still hadn't
I
gotten in
agree
touch
with you,
her.
my friend.
She drove back to his home where she continued calling him before she says she fell asleep around 1:30 in the morning.
I said, "Go check and let me know, and I'll follow
Sorry.
you behind."
What happened to telling
Hey, help,
police
though.
she had stomach issues from the bar and she dropped John off?
She was
Why
mad
did she
about
say,
Ella's
"Go
mom.
check and I'll follow you behind"? She was his ride home in a snowstorm, and she thought it might be the wrong house. So according to her phone records, she left him without calling when he could have been in a stranger's house. What if he came outside and said it was the wrong house? He had no ride home in the snow.
Right. You just
This
left
is
them?
not
Come on.
logical.
No.
It's so odd that Karen wondered if it was the right house after talking to Jen, who gave them directions, and using Waze for driving directions. Her story that she told John to go to the door alone when they arrived does not correspond to John's phone data showing he did not exit her car until 7 minutes after they parked, and he only walked for 20 seconds before his phone stopped near the flagpole and was found under his body later that morning.
So I pull at the foot of the driveway.
The three people in the truck turned onto Fairview immediately after Karen and pulled up to the driveway and never saw John get out.
I said, can we make sure we're welcome here? Nobody extended the invite to me.
She's
I
such a
didn't
liar.
see the invite extended to you.
Jen asked Karen at Waterfall if she wanted to ride with her to the after party.
Me too.
At 12:14, John texted Jen, quote, "Where to?" end quote. And at 12:18, Jen called John to give directions. Why would Karen arrive at the house 5
She
minutes
knew that.
later and think they were not invited?
Right, come on.
In Karen's police interview on January 29th, she told them they were invited as they left Waterfall. She also told police she had stomach issues from the bar. So if Karen didn't feel like hanging out at this after party,
Why'd she drive
why
there?
wouldn't she have told John to get a ride with the McCabe's when they were leaving the Waterfall so Karen could go home for the night?
So I pull at the foot of the driveway. It's snowing. John has no coat on.
We don't
It's
wear coats around
windy.
here anyway.
So I drop him off. He goes up the driveway and
Sweatshirts.
approaches the side door. And as I see him approach the door, I look down at my phone.
In her investigation discovery episode,
Come on.
she said, quote, "And I saw him reach the breezeway door, which is the second side front door, and he opened the door and went to walk in," end quote. In this story, Karen did not see John open the door. She told him to check and she would follow him. So wouldn't you keep looking as he approaches the door for him to signal to you that it's the right house, instead of immediately looking at your phone so you don't see him wave you to come in? So many things about Karen's various stories are odd to me.
I hadn't been on my phone the entire night. I queue up a song to play on my Bluetooth, and I just start
Exactly.
browsing through, missed text messages and a couple emails.
Karen's statement to
don't.
police was that
We
she had
don't either.
stomach issues, dropped John off, did a 3-point turn, and left. The three people in the truck behind her, plus phone and car data, show that did not happen.
Reed says after about 10 minutes of waiting in her car, she became irritated that O'Keefe still hadn't gotten in touch with her. And she drove back to his home where she
Just left
continued
him.
calling him before she says she fell asleep around 1:30 in the morning.
Phone
She didn't.
records show
She didn't.
Karen did not start calling John until after she pulled away from Fairview,
Yep.
which was after John's phone was at his final resting place near the flagpole, where Karen's SUV was seen parked by multiple people.
I had told both
Good
Jen and
job, girl.
Terry that I cracked my taillight. I said I just hit my car on top of everything, but I didn't look at the damage. And both women said, it's cracked. It's cracked. Calm down. You cracked your taillight.
Gee, how'd you do that,
You're
Karen?
okay. Let's go look for John.
If she did not
Yeah, you
look
can't
at
reason
it,
with
how would she
crazy.
know she cracked it? She told Gretchen Voss she picked pieces out of her taillight. Why
Oh.
did she tell 2020 she didn't even look at the damage?
When my car was seized, there was a few small pieces of taillight missing that I had picked out at John's at 5:45 before we drove over to Fairview. I'm showing Jimmy and Terry, look what I just did to my light, and I'm worried that there's gonna be some kind of electric short circuit. There's like the bulb is showing and some of the red plastic's missing. So I picked pieces out of the light housing that had kind of collapsed within the light and dropped them in John's driveway.
More conflicting statements from Karen. She did not look at the damage, yet she admitted she looked at the damage with Carrie and Jen, and pieces were missing, and she picked some out. And John's 5:07 a.m. Ring camera video proved that no pieces fell when Karen's car made contact with John's at less than 1 mile per hour. So when and how was her taillight broken before 5 a.m.?
That's right.
The people in the pickup truck noticed nothing wrong with Karen's rear SUV lights. Jen testified that Karen showed them her taillight when they arrived at John's, and people said Jen was a liar because the Ring video obviously shows that they walked directly into John's house without looking at her
It's a different
phone.
video.
But Karen confirmed she showed them. So it seems like Jen, Karen, and Kerry looked at it when they went back out to Fairview. So who did it benefit to delete that Ring video of Karen picking
Only
pieces out of her
Karen.
taillight? Karen or the police and Michael Proctor? In my opinion, Karen. Due to restrictions, I can't play the entirety of these next interviews, so I'm going to display the full quotes on the screen as I read along. Karen said, quote, "We get to the house. It didn't look like it was busting at the seams with people, and there was maybe 1 or 2 cars in the driveway," end quote. As I said before, the Albert family had 3 to 4 cars in the driveway, plus the McCabe's and Brian Higgins and the truck parked behind Karen for several minutes with its lights on. Karen said, quote, I said, John, can you just run in there and can we make sure we're welcome here and it's somewhere we want to be? He said, yeah, I'll be right back. And he got out of the car, end quote. I've already reviewed how Jen invited Karen, and she admitted to police they were invited. These were people they just hung out with for almost 90 minutes, having a good time. Karen and John knew some of them for several years. Also, it took John 7 minutes to get out of Karen's car, and he only walked for 20 seconds before his phone never moved from the flagpole.
Never moved
her
again.
Story does not match data.
Doesn't add
Karen
up.
said, quote,
Bro.
I saw him approach the front door. I see him go to the door and start to cross the threshold. I see him open the door and put his head inside. And I'm like, all right, he's going to yell to me or he's going to come out and get me. And I look down at my phone, and in a matter of seconds, I look up and he's not there. And then I waited for him to reemerge, which I assumed was going to be in moments, or that he'd yell to me from the front door, okay, end quote. This time, Karen mentioned the front door instead of the side door. John opened the door to a stranger's house, put his head inside, crossed the threshold, and she looked down for a few seconds at her phone. She said in other interviews, as John was approaching the side door, Karen looked down for about a full minute, and in another interview, did not even mention him getting near the door. Why would Karen turn away to look at her phone at the moment John would likely be signaling to her that they were invited to come in?
They were fighting
Why
for
did
7
John
minutes.
just walk in without even knocking? Why would he cross the threshold and go inside instead of turning around to Karen and signaling, calling, or walking back to the car to get her? This makes no sense. Karen said, quote, and I'm waiting here in the snow and darkness. I don't know these people well. And what do you stay to have a beer? Why aren't you signaling to me? So I soon thereafter, within Dennis, who's the name of the reporter, probably 2 full minutes, I start calling him, end quote. Karen knew the McCabe's for most of the 2 years she dated John. She knew Brian Higgins from when she planted an unexpected kiss on his lips while John was also in the house. She just hung out with these other people for an hour and 15 minutes. Phone data proved that Karen did not even call John for 9 minutes until after she parked at Fairview, not until 12:33. The minute after her car went in reverse and then left,
100%,
and John
Lisa.
never moved again. The reporter asked what happened next. Karen replied, I left. I went home. She thought her boyfriend possibly disappeared into a stranger's house.
And he just went home?
So she did not call, text, or walk to the front door.
Walk up?
Despite her being his ride home in a snowstorm after midnight. Am I the only one that this does not make any sense to?
No.
Most of the online comments I've read about this case scream
wrong.
that Karen is innocent. But these statements from her don't appear to be that of an innocent or truthful person, in my opinion. And also, according to the data, which is more important than my opinion. The reporter talked about Karen being in her car and asked, what do you say? I'm out of here? Karen replied, quote, no, I kind of slow rolled it off the street. And I'm hoping that as I slowly edge my way down the street, he's going to say, wait, Karen, where are you going? This isn't the plot of a romantic comedy, Karen. Slowly? Her car data showed she went over 20 miles per hour in reverse soon after John finally exited her car. If we ignore that and reality and assume John was inside the house before slow rolling it and wondering what was going on, why wouldn't Karen call John to find out? She said she did, but the phone data contradicts that. Also, if she had stomach issues like she told police and had to go to the bathroom, why was it not more urgent to call her boyfriend for 9 minutes after he disappeared into a house? Next is another clip from Investigation Discovery.
But I have no memory of a 200-pound man hitting my car in any way. And my memory is not as sharp when I drink as it is when I don't.
Shocker.
But I don't black out. I don't wake up and say, I can't remember anything from the night before.
Interesting.
So there's no part of me that thinks I hit John. I know I didn't hit John.
Well, what part of Karen can't remember the something she hit with her car? This is what her father said.
During your first discussions with Karen, did she believe she may have hit John?
No, no. She felt she struck something.
Definitely full of shit.
She said,
What did
"Dad,
she
I
strike?
think I struck something."
What is
What do
it?
you mean? Right? This was in the hospital.
You don't know. You don't remember.
Right? She says, I remember. All right, backing up. and hitting something.
There was nothing on Fairview to hit in reverse other than John. Quote, I think I struck something, end quote, could not be referencing hitting John's car because she knew his car was the only thing she could have hit at his house because her car had a reverse camera and audio sensors warning her she was about to hit his car, and she still hit it at 5:07 a.m. By the time Karen talked to her dad, she had already shown Jen and Kerry the broken taillight before 6 a.m. And Karen admitted in the Gretchen Voss interview there were missing pieces that she picked out. But the 5:07 a.m. ring video shows no pieces falling on the ground. Also, Dr. Welcher confirmed that Karen's taillight was not at a height position to hit John's car and would not have cracked when her car was moving less than 1 mile per hour. At a certain point, Karen's memory did not even include being at Fairview when she called Jen at 4:53 a.m. and said she left John at Waterfall. She went from not remembering going to Fairview to remembering all these details that don't match up to cell and car data and eyewitnesses. To be fair to Karen, Jen McCabe also woke up and did not immediately remember that she saw Karen's SUV outside Fairview until her husband, Matt, reminded her. And also the memories of the other people have contradictions and changes over time. Karen thought she last saw John
They
at
just
Waterfall.
use different words.
So why would she tell Jen at 4:53 a.m. that she got in a fight with John if they were getting along fine on the videos from CF McCarthy's and Waterfall? So Karen remembered a fight with John in her car, but they were in the car after leaving Waterfall together. Karen's story about last seeing John at Waterfall was obviously proven wrong.
So there's no part of me that thinks I hit John. I know I didn't hit John.
At some point, parts of her seemed to think she could have hit John. Karen said, quote, I said, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? End quote. The reporter asked, like, how could that have been if she had just dropped him off at the house? She replied, quote, I don't know what else could have been. It was howling wind. I had YouTube blasting on the stereo, and I thought, did he somehow try to flag me down, which was the reaction I was hoping to garner as I slowly pulled away from the house? Did he come out and maybe trip or bend over to pick up his cell phone, and I ran over his foot, and then he passed out drunk? I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? End quote. What the hell? This does not add up to the facts and her statement that John skipped up the driveway into the house. In order to play YouTube, you have to have the app open on your phone. How is Karen calling and texting John while the YouTube app was blasting sound? If John was walking from the Albert's house back to Karen's SUV as she slowly pulled forward, he is not going to trip into her car's rear taillight and die. I have not seen anywhere that Karen publicly mentioned going in reverse other than this clip.
So did you go in reverse 24 miles an hour, 53 feet?
The data is what the data is, and it's going to come out cleanly, more cleanly in our case in chief.
Was accelerating at 74% throttle.
The data is the
Factory
data.
constructionist Judson Welcher testified that around 12:32 a.m. that night, Karen Reed's car traveled forward 34 feet into neutral, then in reverse 53 feet at about 24 miles an hour. The moment prosecutors say she hit John O'Keefe.
It's a forward motion followed by a higher speed rear motion.
Welcher said data from Reed's Lexus, the scene, cell phones, and his own testing of a same make and model Lexus that he purchased brought him to this conclusion. He also used himself as a test subject, since he's around the same height and weight as O'Keefe, using paint to see how the taillight could have lined up with John O'Keefe's arm injuries.
The approximate location of the taillight lines up with the approximate location of the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's arm.
Sure does.
Said, he didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see.
Weird thing to say.
I have done something that knocked him out, and in his drunkenness and in the cold, didn't come to again.
Blame John.
The reporter asked, and this would have been the moment that you dropped him off at the party? Karen said, yes, yes. To be fair, I think Karen meant John did not look mortally wounded when she gave him CPR.
But
she said yes because she meant she was already done something to him when she dropped him off, not that she saw he was mortally wounded around 12:32 a.m.
I also wondered, did I say could I have hit him?
That doesn't make
or
sense.
Was it told to me that I said I hit him? And I knew I never could have said that. So the closest I must have said was, did I hit him? And I know I said I hit him, but did I really say it as many times as law enforcement's claiming I said it?
Karen said she knew
Bingo.
she could not have said, quote, could I have hit him, end quote, but admitted she could have said, did I hit him? Which is essentially the same comment.
Same friggin'
But then
thing.
she said, I know I said I hit him, but did I really say it as many times as law enforcement is claiming I said it, end quote. If you said it once, that indicates you are not 100% certain there was no possible scenario where you could have hit him.
Yep.
I mean, that's clear as I would be if I hadn't been drinking. I mean, I had drank, so, and that led me to question, like, could I have hit him? Did I run over his foot or hit him in the knee? Did I incapacitate him? And I always tried to my music blasting ever since I was 16. And I know when John got out of the car to go into Fairview, I know my car was blasting because when I got in it the next morning, I go look for him, I had to immediately turn it down. And
There was no music when she got out.
Cocktails. I did black out, but I wasn't as lucid as I would have been if I had gone to bed at 9 and drank a tea. But I was fuzzier than I would have been if I had had no alcohol. Could I have hit him? Did I run over his foot or hit him in the knee? Did I incapacitate him?
Are these things Karen thought after she went in reverse and saw John on the ground? She did not mean to hit him, but saw that he was no longer standing, and that is why she started calling him repeatedly.
You don't back up at 24 miles an hour.
He eventually got up and was okay. Based on her voicemail a few minutes later saying she hated him, it's obvious to me she left Fairview angry. Was she angry enough to not get out and see why John was on the ground? Based on where Karen parked and the Albert's front door, it makes no sense for John to ever walk in front of Karen's car. So how else could Karen be open to a scenario where she hit him other than going in reverse after he got out
swear,
after an argument?
I always tried to my music blasting ever since I was 16. And I know when John got out of the car to go into Fairview, I know my car was blasting because when I got in it the next morning, I looked for him, I had to immediately turn it down.
Karen said she and John had a discussion about him going inside to make sure it was okay. How can you have that discussion when your music is blasting when John got out of the car? Her music was not blasting on the voicemail she left when she pulled into John's garage and turned her car off at 12:42.
The voice message at 12:41:35.
There it is. You hear any music? I sure don't. I hear the bells and whistles, but no music. None.
After she had been at John's house for 6 minutes, what took so long to pull into the garage and get out? We'll never know if she got out to examine the damage to the back of her car because that Ring video was deleted by a mystery person. This next part is from her 2020 interview.
Firefighter said that you said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
I said, I hit him. It was preceded by a did and proceeded by a question mark. What I thought could have happened was that did I incapacitate him unwittingly somehow, and then in his drunkenness passed out?
Under what circumstance would John get out of the passenger side at the foot of the driveway? Karen witnessed him make it through the house door and think she possibly incapacitated him. He would not have walked in front of her SUV while she was driving forward. That only leaves her driving in reverse. Her car had audio and video sensors to warn her that a pedestrian was near her car.
You're right, Lisa.
I've never heard Karen say those sensors never made noise at Fairview. Karen has no difficulty remembering how many drinks she had, missing the turn onto Fairview, remembers multiple scenarios of John exiting the car, none of which match electronic data. She remembers slowly pulling away and vividly recalls pulling into John's garage, but she has memory issues about the possibility of hitting John. There are more holes in Karen Reed's story than a block of Swiss cheese. Calgon, take me away. Karen answered in her Boston
Calgon,
25
take me
interview
away.
why she would say she wondered if she hit John if she saw him go inside the house.
On the morning of January 29th, 2022, you said it was possible you might have hit John. How could that even be in the realm if you saw him going into the house?
Because it never crossed my mind that the people we were with, middle-aged adults with children, some of the children were with us that night at the bar. It did not cross my mind for several days that they did this to John, that John was treated like a piece of garbage. These were women and men, some I knew better than others, that I knew to be normal people. And I went through every possibility. He was near the road and he was dying. And I didn't think he was purposely put in that place.
I sound like a broken record and a robot, according to people in my TikTok comments, but John's phone GPS location
Never goes in the house. Period.
People can argue about his phone GPS location, sometimes including the house, but that was only with low accuracy, and the center point was never in the house. John's phone only showed him move 7 minutes after they parked and for only 20 seconds. And then his phone stopped moving at the flagpole. Karen's accusations that people inside the house caused John's death is not backed up by evidence.
She indicated that they left the waterfall and were invited to the house on Fairview Road. She stated that she dropped the victim at the house on Fairview and went home since she was having stomach issues at the previous bar. She stated that she dropped the victim off. She made a 3-point turn in the street and left. Did not see the victim enter the house.
So she told police on January 29th, 2022, that she did not see John enter the Alberts house, but years later said she did and blames the people inside. From the time I started looking into this case, I've kept an open mind, and I realized that Karen has not been convicted after 2 trials. But up to this point of my research, I'm not seeing that Karen was framed. And as you can tell by all the things I've reviewed so far in this video, they don't show her as being a truthful person.
Calls you made to your mother overnight. What were those calls about?
Anyone who spent any time with me throughout my life knows I'm incredibly close to my parents.
She called him in the middle of the night. Got
I
it.
was very troubled to put it. You've heard the voicemails. It was a blizzard. There were young children unattended, and John, uncharacteristically, and when I say uncharacteristically, I mean he's never done that before at that hour in those conditions. And I was panicked. I was torn between, did something go wrong, or is he purposely ignoring me and taking advantage of me to go home to the kids while he stay out drinking?
Please.
And as I do, and do I wish I did it less? Yes, but now I need her more than ever. As I normally would do, I'd reach out to my mother for, what do you think's happening?
John has never done what?
That's weird.
Hour? Gotten out of Karen's car after arguing for 7 minutes, walked for 20 seconds, and then died so he could not reply to her phone calls that she only made after she drove away from the Alberts house, where data shows John never even entered, yet Karen, her attorneys, and people on the internet claim John was murdered inside. Karen has repeatedly placed blame on John O'Keefe for going into the Alberts house and being rude to her by not telling her it was okay to come inside or answering her phone calls, but she never called him while she was parked outside for 9 minutes.
She's a liar.
And his phone was never inside the house, despite Karen's plethora of statements that she saw him approaching the door
The rumor
and
mill.
then looked at her phone, saw him stick his head inside and
Oof.
cross the threshold.
Be
and then
careful.
she looked
We
at her
just
phone,
had flooding.
that she called him a couple of minutes after she saw him walk inside, and her first story to police that she never even saw him go inside because she had stomach issues and left doing a 3-point turn after dropping John off. Karen Reed has told more stories than Dr. Seuss.
Then Mother Goose.
So I thought,
Then Mother
did I
Goose.
run him over? Did he try to get me as I was leaving and I didn't know it? I mean, I've always got the music blasting. It's snowing. I got the wipers on and the heater blasting. Did he come and hit in the back of my car and I hit him in the knee and he's drunk and passed
Yeah,
out
it's
and
dark.
asphyxiated or something? And then when I hired David, you know, I asked him those questions the night of January 29th. Like, David, what if, I don't know, what if I get his foot over or what if I clipped him in the knee and he passed out and or went to care for himself and threw up or passed out? And David said, yeah, and you have some element of culpability.
Karen never said what scenario.
I
this
do.
could
There's
happen
no
during.
pattern of her doing that.
Attorneys may have later argued she never went in reverse to cause one of these scenarios, but Karen seemed open to it before her trials.
Yep.
John, I'm telling you, fucking kids. Nobody knows what the fuck you want to hurt her.
Karen had not asked anyone where John was, so why would nobody know where he was? She said she saw
Exactly.
him walk into Fairview 35 minutes before leaving.
Why
his
would
residence.
no one know where you are?
Yet she did not call or text him while parked outside, and only called starting at 12:33 after driving away, and left a
Me
voicemail at 12:37
either.
that only said, "John, I effing hate you," which indicates an argument happened
Bingo.
during the 7 minutes John and Karen sat in her car.
Bingo,
I have
Lindsay.
no idea why she called him a pervert or what could have changed from
'Cause
them
she
acting
thought
angry at each other,
you know,
texting
she was
earlier in the day,
from their
to
fight
happy at the
about
two
Bella's
bars,
mom.
to John being a pervert and Karen hating him. In all of Karen's interviews and variety of stories,
Exactly.
she never mentioned the following. John used Waze to find the house, and it would have shown they were parked at 34 Fairview. Driving her car forward a few times based on eyewitness testimony. Going in reverse. A variety of people standing at the glass front door said Karen was parked directly in front of it. So she should have seen that door and the people looking out it while she was talking to John for 7 minutes after they parked. The truck behind her for several minutes before it drove by. Julie Nagel exiting and entering the home after standing in the driveway for several minutes. Arguing with John in the car. Karen said she pulled up and wanted John to check it out, and he got out. The police report stated, quote, the defendant informed Ms. McCabe that she and the victim had gotten into an argument the last time that she had seen him, end quote. The police report also stated John's niece heard Karen's morning calls with Jen, and Karen changed her story multiple times, initially stating that she and the victim got into an argument and she dropped him off. I'm going to end this video, finally, reviewing the data. Despite her changing words, data showed Karen did not call John at all in 9 minutes while parked outside the Alberts house, but did call him 6 times in 2.5 minutes after she left while driving drunk in a snowstorm back to his house. Around the time Karen appears to have lied about calling John, we know John looked at his phone several times. Some people believe Karen's statements and speculate that a 6'1", 200-pound Boston police officer went inside this house and immediately got attacked by his friends, 2 law enforcement officers, a high school senior,
So
and a dog.
ridiculous.
But they don't seem to take into consideration John unlocked his phone 3 times with Face ID after he and Karen arrived at 12:24 a.m. Yes, I made a spreadsheet for your viewing pleasure. John unlocked his phone 3 times with Face ID. Also at 12:24, John read the text from Brian Higgins, "You coming here?" which was 31 seconds after he and Karen arrived. 12:27 a.m., he read the text from Jen that said "here," which was 3 minutes and 20 seconds after they arrived. Finally, at 12:32 a.m., he read the text from Jen that said "pull behind me," which was 7 minutes and 38 seconds after they arrived. Jen misspelled pull with 3 L's, not me. At 12:30 a.m., John's phone disconnected from Karen's car's Bluetooth, so it likely had not been inside the house for the 6 minutes since he and Karen parked. At 12:31 a.m., John started walking for the first time since arriving. He took 36 steps for about 83 feet for 20 seconds. 12:32 a.m. was the end of John's steps. And at 12:33 a.m., it was the start of a pocket state, which meant that John's cell phone camera was blocked by something. There was no other phone activity until after
they found him.
His body was found. So for this Mick Alberts plus a German Shepherd conspiracy,
Ridiculous.
I'm supposed to believe that Karen parked at 12:21 or 12:24 a.m., depending on which data expert you believe. Then John skipped up the driveway and opened the door to a stranger's house, and Karen immediately turned away, despite saying she was waiting for him to signal to her if it was okay to come in. Then John got beat up immediately, and his killers and accomplices,
in front of her,
the people who he had just had fun with at the bar, some of whom were his friends for years and even helped out with his niece. Then these killers took his cell phone and put it up to his unconscious face so they could open his phone with Face ID and look to see what text messages he had received. And then these cop killers then pressed the lock button on John's phone so they would have to repeatedly put his cell phone to his just murdered face to repeatedly look at his other text messages. Then they pushed the lock button on his phone for one last time at 12:32 and 9 seconds, and they magically transported his body and phone from the basement to his final resting place at the flagpole 7 seconds later. This makes 0 sense. John's phone data does not support an attack inside the house.
Nope.
These are the same people who argue that John's phone data showed him going up and down 3 flights of stairs between 12:21 and 12:24, ignoring the testimony that proved it was the change in elevation from the bar while Karen and John were driving to the house.
Thank you,
Yet
Sharon.
these people have no
I appreciate
explanation
you.
why John's phone would not show being carried up 1 flight of stairs from the basement in 20 seconds of movement around 12:32 a.m. Oh, and the reason he was attacked was because a high school senior was mad John did not like him putting beer on his lawn. despite evidence that this kid was gone from the house even before Karen started her car at Waterfall, or Brian Higgins wanted Karen all to himself, so he attacked John.
So ridiculous.
Or the German Shepherd, who did not attack the other 9 people who were actually proven to be inside the house, did not like John, so it only bit his right arm, but there was no dog DNA on John. I realized that experts testified that John's injuries were not consistent with a car accident, and that is what Karen was charged with. But these various statements by Karen do not reflect a truthful person, in my opinion. For everyone who has been yelling at your screen during this video, yes, I am keeping track of lies told by other people involved in the case, and I will include them in my long deep dive video on the entire case and the 2 trials that I've been working on for the past month, and who knows when I'll end up finishing that video. Thanks for watching.
So what I find so funny about all of that is we said all this, right? We have said all of that and more for 2 years, okay? For 2 freaking years. We have said all of this, all right? And they just stick their fingers in their ears and go, la, 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 the Mick Alberts are lying. And even this guy's like, well, I keep track of everyone else's lies. The problem with that is you have to actually know the answers to the ridiculous, mundane questions that people raise, like, why didn't Brian Albert go outside? Well, by the time Brian Albert was woken up, there's 2 cops in his house, and he's going outside for what? John's already in the ambulance, and they've already taken him. So what is he going outside for? There's no one to save. There's cops now standing in his house. By the way, that was the other lie, was the cops never went in the house. The cops were in the house already. So, some of this ridiculous, nonsensical bullshit. Yeah, I watched it already. I talked about it yesterday. I watched that one and the Peacock ones. I've seen them both. But we said all this. We said all this. We said all of this and then some. And so if you're going to keep track of, quote, lies that supposedly other people told, you can't call something a lie because they word it differently. Now, if they're saying something completely different, sure, that would be a lie. But also, they're limited to answering a question that's asked of them. So just because they didn't explain it to everyone from start to finish doesn't mean they're lying when they have to add something else and they're answering a question. And I think people are having a real hard time differentiating how a trial works. You don't get to just to blurt out what everything happened. You also don't get to blurt out the answer to every ridiculous conspiracy theory that's ever been told about these people. That's just not the way it works. The rumor mill. Girl, listen, I don't know. I don't know. But when you look at some of the things the juror said, they're seriously concerning. You got one juror talking about, juror number 11. There'd be time in one of the interviews. She said there would be time. There would be time for somebody to plant taillight. There was absolutely 0 time for anybody to plant taillight at all. And we know that it was already broken before 5 a.m. So Karen herself picked pieces out of it before she ever leaves John's house to, quote, find him. So, I can't. I'd get a copyright strike for that. But you should be able to find it on YouTube, I think. Yeah, there's a process, right? And also, when you're at grand jury and you're asked a question, you answer it the way it's asked, right? So when you have someone who's trying to pick apart any tiny little thing and twist it, you're always going to find something nefarious if that's what you're looking for. There are really mundane answers to a lot of things, like, why did the Alberts sell the house? They were already going to sell the house before John ever died. They were already talking about selling the house, and there's evidence for that. Obviously, that wasn't allowed into trial because there was no reason to argue about why they sold their house afterwards. Actually, a lot of people sell their house after something terrible like that happens because it's a reminder of that terrible thing that happened, but they were already going to sell their house before John died. So, you know, there's that. And then there was the defense acting like they didn't know where the dog was. They knew where the dog was for 3 years. I knew where the dog was way back in 2023, okay, in Vermont. They knew where the dog was all the way back in 2023 and 2024 and 2025. They knew where the dog was the entirety of the time. And so they lied. They also knew when the federal investigation was over, and they lied. Oh, girl, listen. Grave, I hear you, man. I hear you. I don't like her either, but this was a good thing that we watched. It was a sort of like a guy pointing out all the various different stories that Karen told and showing how they don't make sense. So it was actually really good. It was really good. Insane to me that we have pointed out all of these same things over a very long stretch of time. And multiple other people have pointed these things out. The Karen supporters just stick their fingers in their ears and call everybody else a liar. The problem with that is the evidence, the data. It does not support the conspiracy theory or the things that Karen Reed has spewed with her defense team. It just doesn't. It flat out does not. Okay? Let me get this off the screen real quick. It's one of those things where you have to look at the case yourself and say, does this make sense? Does this make sense? Wait a second. These are her statements that contradict each other about what happened. You know, that's strange. That's weird. Why is she saying this if that didn't really happen? Right? I don't know. I don't know. You got to look at it and be like, what reason would she have to lie? Why are there missing ring cam footage that she admits to do it, like looking at the taillight with Carrie? Right? And Jen, that's missing. Who does it benefit to get rid of that? Only Karen. Doesn't benefit anyone else but her. Nor did anybody else have the means or the access. You know? The thing. No, he was not attacked by a coyote. No. A coyote wouldn't have just left him there. It would have dragged him off here in Massachusetts. There's a coyote, and also, if a coyote tried to bite into his arm, again, there's going to be puncture wounds, and those abrasions are going to have some depth to them. They're scratches and scrapes. There's no depth to them at all. So you're not going to have a coyote that only bites with the top of their teeth, but not the bottom of their teeth, that doesn't try to drag the body away and also makes no puncture marks or wounds or have any depth to it whatsoever. It's not going to happen. I very well think that it was a combination of being where those bushes were and sort of half in the mulch bed and half not where those bushes were, and the glass and the taillight fragment pieces. I believe it's a combination of those things that caused those injuries on him. You know? Yes, the pictures that the defense showed, they darkened the wounds to make them like look deeper. They were not deep by any stretch of the imagination. They're abrasions, and a multitude of medical professionals that said exactly that. They are abrasions, scratches or scrapes. There's no depth to them. There's no puncture marks. And also, just FYI, if you're attempting to try to say it's a dog bite or a coyote bite, the dog's mouth would have had to been upside down and have no bottom jaw. Also, a coyote is not just going to bite in one area. If they couldn't get a grasp over here, they're going to try to grab the neck, the face, the leg, and drag you off. And there's no chance that they're not going to actually bite down and get a piece of your flesh if they're biting at your arm. They're going to bite, and they're going to get it. Never mind the fact that there's taillight pieces that they had to scrape sort of out of his shirt you know? Not exactly. See, that's the problem. If you're looking for a pattern, I guess you'll find a pattern. There's no DNA from any animal, including canine, other than pig DNA on John. And they swabbed every hole in his shirt. So, I mean, what do you mean you didn't get a solid answer? I answered this exact same thing yesterday. Hey, Lynn. My daughter has a German Shepherd and a Husky. Yeah. And that's another thing. Coyotes come in packs. They don't usually sort of wander alone by themselves. They usually come in 2s, 3s, 4s, multiples. And yeah, no. Coyote's not going to leave the body there and then not try to drag it away. John probably died within an hour, I'd say, if even that long, from that gaping wound in the back of his head. And Karen claims that she pulled a piece of glass out of his nose, which is exactly where we see that little scrape and scratch on his nose. Yes, there was an expert that explained that it wasn't animal bites. Yes, there was. I mean, there was actually multiple experts that said it's not animal bites. The only people who claimed it to be animal bites was Looney Tunes McGee, Dr. Russell, and she has a zero credibility. She's changed her story like 5 or 6 times from it could be animal bites or scratches to it could be animal wounds. To it absolutely is a bite. Altogether, it's a bite, but separately, she doesn't know what it is. So she changed it from it could be any animal to it has to be a dog to it could be bites or scratches to it has to be a bite. But did your injury have depth to it? That's my point. Did it have depth? It wasn't just scrapes, right? You would have had some sort of drag or puncture mark where a tooth or teeth went in and pulled. None of that exists on John. There are no puncture wounds at all. They had no depth to them at all. Literally, if I scratched my arm like this and I opened it up, like it opened up, and that it's literally scratches and scrapes. They had no depth to them at all. So even if your dog bit and pulled down, you're going to have a puncture. There's going to be a puncture there, and it's going to have at least a little bit of depth where the teeth went in. That's another thing. The feds themselves ruled out canine. Yes, exactly. They are superficial abrasions. There's no depth to them. There's no puncture wounds, you know? Matter of fact, hold on, let me see here. See this for a second. Let's see. I'm gonna find. She said she didn't recall changing her mind either. Of course not. Hank Brennan did a great job of showing how Marie Russell lied. And just said whatever she thought the defense wanted her to say. Let's see. Trying to find. clip here. Can't, it's not popping up right away here. I'd have to go and look for it. I'll look it up this way. Sorry, guys. Oh, hold on a second, guys. Let's see. I can't. Here we go. She can't do with medical certainty that she can't. With medical certainty, she cannot say. And then she said she could. No, Kate's last name is Peter, not Peterson. Let's see if this is it. I think this might be it.
Here, 2 teeth. If the dog's canines started here and worked their way down this way, they don't line up. They're not even. It's backwards.
It would be an odd configuration.
Well, odd. It would be like Ripley's Believe It or Not. The dog would have to have their teeth the opposite way.
No, I could see how that could happen.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that was that moment that Hank Brennan
Julie
referenced. So what you just saw there, that was from a couple months ago at the hearing where he had the doctor in a gotcha kind of moment. What she was saying with her opinion as to how this alleged bite happened didn't make any sense. And then here today, she denied it. She denied saying that. But we have the tape. You can see where she's saying, I could see how it would happen that way. Whereas today she said to Mr. Brennan, oh, perhaps you misunderstood me way back when.
No.
So good thing we have the tape. Let's go back in.
Nothing to misunderstand.
Suffice to say, looking at wound 2 alone, you cannot say this was caused by a dog.
In and of itself, no.
No.
What tooth do you think caused this wound?
I don't know.
Scorpio.
Do you think this in any way could be caused by dog teeth if you're claiming that this is dog teeth?
Excuse me?
Do you think there's any way these two could be caused by dog teeth if you're saying that these two are caused by dog teeth?
Yes, it could be, but I don't know which teeth. And I don't know the
which teeth?
The extent of the bite, how much impact there was, and how much pressure and how much contact there was between the teeth and the skin.
The canines are the longer teeth in a dog's mouth, aren't they?
They are.
And when a dog bites, it's very common for the canines to puncture, isn't it?
It's common if there's enough force, and it's common that you might have 2 canines if the strike is perpendicular to the skin. But if you have a tangential strike, a partial strike where only part of the teeth impact, you'll get different configurations.
Look at the spacing, Dr. Russell.
Did you say strike or strike?
Strike with a K.
Look at the spacing, Dr. Russell.
Yeah.
A dog causing these wounds. The canines are not going to have such a dramatic distance between them because Dog canines don't move, do they?
They don't, and I'm not claiming that these two parallel stripes in this case, or abrasions here, I'm not claiming that those two were caused by canines.
You think a dog is going to leave a wound with linear abrasions using its incisors as opposed to its canines? Is that your opinion?
It's possible if that's the only part of the mouth or the jaw that actually touched the skin, if it didn't go back as far as the canines.
Did you ever look at the underside of Mr. O'Keefe's arm?
I did.
Posterior side?
Excuse me. Pictures, yes.
Yeah. And when you looked at the photographs of the posterior side of Mr. O'Keefe's arm, did you find anything conspicuously absent from underneath his arm?
Well, first of all, let me clarify. Part of this is the posterior aspect of the arm. So are you asking me, did I look at the underside of the arm, the fleshy part
That's
of the arm?
exactly what I'm asking. It's a question I've asked before. When you look at the other side of Mr. O'Keefe's arm, did you notice anything conspicuously absent?
Yes, there was an absence of wounds.
When a dog bites, I don't care if it's a law enforcement dog or a domestic dog, you know it's like a lever, a dog's mouth, isn't it?
It can be if both jaws strike the skin. However, there are many times when only the upper jaw strikes the skin.
The lower jaw is a lever, locks, and that's part of the clamping and pulling process of a dog, whether it's a law enforcement dog or a domestic dog. You know that, don't you?
I know that they are attached.
Your claim is that there's many, many different dog bites on Mr. O'Keefe's arm. Are you suggesting, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, that these are a number of different dog strikes, and coincidentally, every single one of them lacks any wound to the underside of his arm?
Yes.
Your claim is that a dog penetrated the sweater on the top.
With no dog DNA, by the way. None.
But the lower jaw did not leave any wounds?
I'm claiming that that's not what I'm claiming.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. Exactly what you're claiming.
And what is she claiming? She is saying that just the top of the dog's jaw did all these bites, and there might have been some nail scratches in there too. She's not sure. What a disaster this is. Let me bring in Corey Pegues. Corey, my lower jaw is on the desk here as I'm watching this. How about you?
Man, Brennan, that was the bomb right there to say, hey, and I wasn't even thinking of that, Julie. Well, look, all of this for the past couple of years, I never even thought about the lower part of the jaw. Yes. Where are the wounds on the other side of the arm? I can see once or twice the dog mouth is open and they're trying to, if in fact it's a dog, right? And they scratch the arm twice, but all of those wounds and there's no bite on the bottom. Oh,
it was ridiculous.
She's fumbling now. She's really dropping the ball right now.
Yeah, you're right, Corey. This is bad. And you're right. That was a brilliant move by Brennan to draw the attention to the bottom of the arm. So if you're saying there's this bad bite and you're saying you recognize this pattern, well, where's the pattern on the bottom? Because any human, whether you've owned a dog or not, recognizes the mouth is like a lever, like he was talking about. The jaws work together. You don't just have one jaw in play doing the work. I mean, you know, my gosh, this is incredible. I'm actually stunned that this defense team is going this route and calling her, knowing that, you know, there are no injuries on the underside of the arm. Corey, do you think this is going to backfire?
Competent dog.
It's backfiring. It's exploding right now. It's exploding.
Right now, yeah. Bad question, yeah.
No.
Oh my. Corey Pegues.
In her defense also, I've been an expert witness. So I know how hot that seat is, and she must be on fire right now.
So every hole that was in that shirt, they swabbed. Every hole in the shirt, they swabbed. And it really doesn't matter how much time went by. It was think, a couple of weeks before they sent it to the lab. But it was in evidence until they sent it to the lab. So DNA doesn't just disappear. You know, you can still get DNA decades and decades later. And they found pig DNA, of course, right? So when they did these tests, and probably the pig DNA would be, you know, some sort of bacon or pork that John had ate and then got it on the sweatshirt from his hands or leaning on the table, whatever. No DNA of any animal, no canine DNA was on John other than the pig DNA, right? Right? Chloe's in Witsec. It's not even her name anymore. They changed her name, so I guess technically she is in Witsec, right? I'm sorry, but this lady was not an expert, not by a long shot. She changed her opinion like 4 or 5 times. And if you're an expert on something, usually, yeah, that's another thing. That dog bite theory came from Karen's mom, we know. Right, listen. Between my daughter's German Shepherd and her Husky, there's a lot of fur, lots and lots of hair. It sticks to freaking everything. Not a dog hair, not a nothing other than pig DNA was found on John's shirt. There's no bottom jaw. If you look at the wounds and you're saying those dog bites, the dog's mouth would have had to been backwards by the way that Marie Russell says it would have had to been. It's not a thing. The dog bite theory is absurd and ridiculous and just does not fit the actual data and the evidence by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, obviously you all are entitled to your opinion to think what you think, but it's just not there for me. The evidence shows that that's not a thing. And the biggest problem that I have is that the defense was allowed to darken the picture of the wounds to make them look like they had depth, like they were darker. And the medical examiner had to be very precise in saying they had no depth. They were abrasions, AKA scratches, scrapes. They had no actual depth or puncture in any of them, which is funny because Marie Russell loved to use the word punctate. And then Dr. LaPasada, right, tried to claim there's puncture marks everywhere, except the medical examiner who actually saw John's body said there's no, where do you see punctures? There's no punctures anywhere. They're abrasions, they're scratches and scrapes. So, I mean, these are people who just looked at pictures. And at first, Dr. Russell, in the very first thing she did with a questionnaire, tried to say there was punctures as well. This is why she's changed her thing about a bunch of different times, is because then they had to go back and be like, well, Dr. Russell, you're saying there's punctures, but the ME here who looked at John said there's no punctures there. And then she had to admit there's no punctures actually, and that they don't have depth. So Marie Russell had to admit that they don't have depth, there's no punctures. And in that, she sort of didn't know what to do because she's saying the dog's jaw has to be upside down. So then when they questioned her about it in trial, she said she never said that, except we have it on tape. She absolutely said that. And so she had to sort of change her opinion after he pointed out that it would have had to have been upside down. The other problem is the spacing, right? Dogs' teeth are not that spaced apart. If a dog is biting, those wounds are going to be tighter to each other if you're claiming those are teeth. And if that's what Dr. Russell's going to claim, that they're teeth, they'd have to be closer together. They would not be that far apart, right? And then you're saying the canines, the ones that come down on a dog's mouth the most, right? The ones that are longer than the rest of the teeth. You're saying the short ones would have gotten him, but the longer ones wouldn't have. That's not going to happen because the longer ones are going to hit the skin first. So, of course, Hank Brennan points that out, and Dr. Marie Russell sort of fumbles with it. It's ridiculous. I didn't either, Heartstar. I didn't either. And I don't mean differences of opinion on things like, what caused the injuries on John's arm, unless you're going to say it's something absurd and ridiculous. But I mean things like they were able to be fed things like, taillight was found on top of the snow. That's part of one of the first things that the cult put out, including the Aiden himself, was oh, the taillight was found on top of the snow. How could it be on top of the snow if it wasn't planted? The problem with that was it wasn't on top of the snow. It was underneath the snow, and they dug for it, and there was video, and he didn't know it, and neither did Karen, because they hadn't gotten that part of the evidence yet. So they fed people this ridiculous conspiracy theory with things like they lost $50,000 on selling the house. No, they did not. They made $250,000 on selling that house. They lowered it to sell it, but they still made hundreds of thousands of dollars on the house. So that was not true. So there was a lot of things that were said to sort of make people believe this conspiracy theory that ended up being completely debunked and not true at all. But it was already too late at that point. At that point, those people believed there was some conspiracy and something was nefarious because all of those things that got debunked happened in their mind, right? And so they were already hooked into that mob mentality and that cult mentality, and they just kept giving them little more tidbits of why something could be nefarious or why something could be sketchy, when there were actually really simple answers for a lot of it. They tried to say that everyone got rid of their phones. No, Brian Albert actually turned his into the phone company, and he asked, this was over a year after he got one, I think it was Christmas, got a new one, and asked them, like, hey, orders had already been denied for his phone. He had already preserved it for a long time. It's like, hey, is it okay if I finally get a new phone now? I got one, as a gift. And he didn't throw it in the trash. He didn't destroy it. He turned it into the phone company and got a new phone with permission. Also, in that entire case, they never had permission for his records ever. So he preserved it as long as he needed to and asked permission before he got a new one. Brian Higgins has no trash pickup on the Cape and always throws his trash out at Sandwich Air Force Base. He has access to it for being a vet. I used to do the same thing with my friend's dad. He was a vet there, and they had no trash pickup. So we would load up all the trash from our house and the neighbors, the elderly neighbor that we take their trash to, and we would bring it to the Air Force Base and dump it. Better than going to the dump or paying for a sticker or all the other ridiculous, because there's no trash pickup. So we still load it all into the car we called Big Blue, because it was like big and older, like I think it was Cutlass, but we called it Big Blue, and load the stuff up into the trunk, huge trunk, and dump it onto the Air Force Base. Now, my brother does tech. He doesn't live in this state, unfortunately. My brother lives in Florida, but my brother does tech. And my brother has always taught me that if I'm going to get rid of a computer or a phone, that I need to do things like separate the hard drive and literally smash it, destroy it, separate them and toss them in different things, separate the SIM card from the phone or cut the SIM card, because people do dumpster dive, and there's a lot of personal information in your device on those cards. So that's something that my brother taught me forever ago. If I'm ever tossing something, to make sure that I separate those things or destroy those things so that somebody can't steal my personal information that's on it. Anybody who has a family member who's worked in tech would know that. There's nothing nefarious about that. Anytime I get rid of something like that, that's exactly what I do, because it's my brother taught me. It's for privacy and to keep all of my banking information and things like that safe. My children's information that's in my phone, all of that stuff safe. There's nothing nefarious about making sure that you're keeping your stuff safe when you toss it. But again, that's part of why people believed in all this, because when you're looking for something nefarious, you can make anything nefarious. Literally anything. Literally anything you can make nefarious, right? Well, I can tell you, at least the Alberts, I don't know about the McCabe's, they have done some interviews that haven't been aired yet. And the interview that we all saw, that they all did together, only a few minutes of that was interviewed. That interview was over 2 hours long. So they're kind of limited to what is going to either be put out or aired. They can do as many as they want, but it's kind of limited to what what the places are putting out after they do them. So that's kind of, part of the problem with that. But I also saw what happened when people like Lindsay did speak out. She remained silent for months and months and months, finally got on social media and started debunking some of this BS that was, said about her. And she got attacked worse, so I feel like almost there's no winning there. You can stay silent and still get harassed, or you can not stay silent and get harassed more. It doesn't matter what they say or don't say. The results are probably going to be the same. I saw it with my own eyes. I've dealt with it myself. It didn't matter whether I stayed quiet, and to this day, it doesn't matter if I ignore the trolls like I do or I respond. It's the same result. I still get harassed. So I think, they probably see that too and are like, well, what's the point? We've done both and it's still the same, I think, unfortunately, until you experience it, you don't really understand that it's kind of a rock and a hard place. It doesn't really matter what you do or don't do, I do think that we have a serious issue with the intelligence level of people, and I honestly think that an IQ test needs to happen before we put people on juries at this point, Yeah, damned if you do and damned if you don't. It's exactly it, Yes, they did. We had a lot of people testify to it. The brain doctor too, yeah. Chloe slander. Poor Chloe. Thankfully, they changed her name. It's not even Chloe anymore, It's definitely in WITSEC. Changing her name, Well, that's the other thing that they're doing. Always. You're always on fire, my friend. Always. Oh, this is why I love you. And this is the kind of stuff that we do behind closed doors and people don't even realize it. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. It feels good to help someone else who needs help. All you have to do is use your knowledge and be savvy, and you can really help anyone find something that they need, Well, there's a reason for that. So the VBO are the ones that deal with the sanctions against the attorneys, and that takes time. That is not, hey, lawyer, you blow. I don't have welfare housing, sir. I have market rent at $2,100 a month. So when you're going to troll, I don't know, maybe know what the F you're actually talking about before you troll, because then you look silly and stupid. I pay market rent. I always have. Nice try, though. I mean, A for effort. Because, I mean, the trolls never give up, and they just say shit that's nonsensical. I wish I got help. I wish. I have market rent, which is high in my state. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it is damned if you do and damned if you don't. It's unfortunate. I do think there are a lot of bots, So that's the thing. There are a lot of things going on behind the scenes. And if you guys remember, in the civil case with Karen, they put her civil stuff on hold until her criminal stuff was up. So for the ones that are coming for Aiden with lawsuits, it's in their benefit to wait at least closer to his trial before they do it, because the civil case is probably going to just be put on hold until the criminal stuff is over anyway. So the stuff with Karen, I know it's a little more nuanced. It's something they've been working on for a really long time. And I think after, some things needed to be reworked. So it all takes time, but dealing with the attorneys, the defense attorneys, that stuff has to go through the BBO. There's nothing anybody else can do. And the BBO is notoriously slow. The complaints have been made, right? So then the BBO has to, quote, investigate evidence you sent. They have to look into it themselves. And then after they do that is when they, set a date to do something or not do something. And so unfortunately, the BBO is notoriously slow when dealing with things like that. So there's nothing anybody else can do but wait for the BBO to do their job and their part when it comes to the defense attorneys and the things that they did, unfortunately. But yeah, there's, things that are happening behind the scenes. I think people don't realize actually how much happens behind the scenes and what needs to happen behind the scenes. And it's a lot. It's a lot, you know? Oh yeah. Well, that's because of the mantras though, too. You know, we're talking about mob mentality, cult mentality. And so they're just going to repeat the mantras. It's how they come to believe it. It's because it's been told to them over and over and over. So in their minds, because it's been said over and over and over, it must be true, right? It's just not reality, unfortunately. People did come forward saying that they were paid to be at the courthouse the last time. And we know that they use Crowds on Demand, which is a place that hires crowds to be outside. Oh, hell no. Why didn't you call me? I have probably had some stuff I could give her. Not a lot, but I definitely have. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I mean, what kind of actual comment was that anyway? If you're actually going to like troll, at least make sure your information is correct. I mean, when you come in here and just lie, especially, you know, people who know me and know that's crazy and absurd, and you sound stupid. So just because the cult told you it was true doesn't mean it's actually true. Sorry for you. Sorry for you. I'm sorry. I apologize. Also, thank you to Grave. I appreciate you. Our first donation came from Grave a little bit ago. I just was talking, so I didn't want to interrupt my train of thought because then I would have lost it. And Grave sends a $20 donation. I appreciate you, my friend. And it says, hatred of Karen. Read sold by the bucketful. I appreciate you, Grave. Thank you so much for your donation to the channel. If you would like to donate to the channel, we definitely always accept the support because we're a little channel and we only survive on the donations from you guys. There are many options to support the channel. You can hit the like button, the subscribe button, share the video, you know, hit the little emojis on the side of the chat. Those always help, the little impressions. Or you can show support financially by making a donation to Venmo, PayPal, Cashapp, Revolut, and there's a link in the chat that you can click on and you can use credit or debit for that. Because some people are saying they don't have the payment app, so we made that an option. All of that information is in the description of the video. It's also on the front page of my YouTube channel itself, along with our wish lists, which are Amazon and Walmart, because some people prefer to use the wish lists, and that's okay too. Also, we have, yeah, no, that happened. Sorry, not sorry. You might not like the information, but that's what they did, is use Crowds on Demand. So, yeah. Sorry. You might not like the information. That doesn't make it any less true. So there's that. But anyway, let me get that down. There's a ticker at the bottom of the screen that has all the information throughout the stream. So you don't have to worry about the big one popping up. Most people are like, wait, put the big one back up. Nope, don't worry. There's a little one that goes across the bottom of the screen that has all of the information on it for you guys. So you don't have to pause or go back or stop or anything like that. Also, we have memberships, right? And some of you guys' memberships are going to be up or are up already from being gifted one. You can redo it. We have 4 tiers. The lowest tier is $3.99 a month. And we appreciate that support because it also helps the algorithm show that people like being members of the channel and they appreciate it. So it always helps out and we appreciate all of you. And also then we have, you know, super chats and super sticker options as well, if that's what you prefer. All right, so let's see here. Well, we have blocked words. We have specific blocked words that can't pop in, but forbidding dogs to crap on his lawn, but brings his dog. Oh, hell no. That is like so hypocritical. Hey, don't have dogs crap on my lawn, but I'll bring my dog to crap on yours. Like, who does that? Who does that? People are amazing these days with the crap that they do, you know? It's amazing. Yeah, they made a lot of deals like Vanity Fair. They sold their, story and things to other places before trial 2. And they're doing the same thing now after trial 2. Need a couch, that's what I need, but I can only fit a specific kind of couch in my house because of how narrow the stairway is. So that's kind of what keeps me from being able to get something like that. So yeah, that's the other thing. The problem is it's damned if they do and damned if they don't. That's, yeah, it happens. It happens. It happens. Believe me, don't you? That's why there's multiple of us. It's funny because I had a troll actually comment, I think it was yesterday, on the video after it was up. So I was like, oh, everybody in your chat has a wrench. And I'm like, why do you just blatantly lie? That makes no sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. What the hell are you talking about? Oh, because they don't like it, right? They don't like it. They don't like it. They don't like that it shows contradictions, right? Of course, they can't have that. They can't have that out in the masses, showing people that she lied a bunch of times and that it doesn't make sense and that her story doesn't make sense. Why? Why would they want that out there? Because if more people realize they were duped, who's to blame for that? So, it's all about harassing people and throwing that dog whistle in there and saying, look at this person, they're bad, they're so bad, and then having them be attacked. That's the cult way, isn't it? Right? Where normal people like us see a troll, block, remove, and go on about our day, or just ignore, because it's not worth your time or energy. I'm not going to sit here and go online and find people I don't like, and that's just absurd. It's a waste of time. Plus, again, what people have to say about me is none of my business. I don't give a shit. The people who know me just laugh at it. The amount of lies and rumors and crap. Yeah, I think there's 5 total, or maybe 6 of you. So I thought it was really funny that the troll said that, because I think Julie came in for a little bit and Ashley came in for a little bit yesterday, but both at different times. And then it was just you, Scorpio, and one other person that were here like most of the stream, which was like all of my, besides me. And of course there was many other people here who do not have wrenches. So when you come on and you just blatantly lie and say stuff like that, like, oh, why does everybody in your chat have wrenches? They don't. I only have 5 or maybe 6 mods total. So once again, when you blatantly look at the chat and you could see that maybe a couple of people do, that's not everyone. So when you blatantly lie just to troll, it kind of throws out your credibility, right? I mean, hey, that's half of the problem with the cult itself, is they just repeat things that they've been told without actually seeing it. Well, it's not, right? And I don't know why channels actually do the whole make everybody a mod thing. I think it's strange. I don't make somebody a mod unless I trust them. So you're not going to be a mod of mine unless I trust you to be a mod of mine. So it's weird that, I don't know. Yes, that's the one we just saw. It's strange to me. It's really strange. Hold on a second. Let me. But I think dealing with these people is something that a lot of the time, the witnesses have done, their own interviews, but they can only do so many. It has to be aired. And when a news station only airs a few minutes of a 2+ hour interview, you're like, what the hell? You said a lot. Why didn't they air most of it or all of it, or make a special? Why do the interview if you're only going to air like 5 minutes of a 2+ hour interview, I think they don't realize that either, that a lot of us are actually friends in real life and that we're not just random people that don't know each other. That's why I find it so funny when they come in here and say ridiculous, nonsensical things, and they try to take like personal pot shots at me. It's like, I don't care what you have to say. I don't give a shit. You can say whatever you want. I know who I am, and the people who know me know who I am. They know what I do when I'm not here. I don't need to prove myself to a bunch of trolls who are clearly easily manipulated and lied to. That just shows that they can't find facts, that if enough people say one thing, then they automatically believe it's true because all those people are saying it. It never dawns on them that the person spreading all the rumors and lies is the person himself trying to hide desperately the things that he has done. And I will just literally wait with my popcorn until all of that comes out in his trial. And I will say, hey, I hate to say I told you so, but I freaking told you so. He will throw every person under the bus and lie about everyone if he thinks he's going to get himself out of trouble for it. Either that or bored housewives, right? They're just really, really bored and have no life. And that's even sadder, you know? It's like sad. Sorry, yeah, sorry, not sorry. You know? Yeah, I don't know why people do that. Everyone, some channels are like that where they get everybody a wrench. I don't know why. You know? That's exactly why I don't do that. Because not everybody's going to get along. If you give everybody a wrench, everyone's going to be timing out everyone or banning everyone. And then you'd have to go through that list every day and undo it. Who wants to spend that time? Just put a few people that you know are around. Like I have a couple that are around once in a while. And then I have a few of you that are around every stream that I need you for. So, and again, every person that has a wrench is somebody I trust personally. Period. They wouldn't have one if I didn't. I don't know why anybody would want to waste their time with that. Ooh, that's a good idea, Heartstar. I mean, the data from her car and John's phone data are the biggest for me. You know, the taillight pieces in, you know, his clothing from her car. It's a big one too. You're the soap dispenser. Probably not great. I honestly think that, yeah, the 75% acceleration, that one's you don't accidentally back up at 24 miles per hour. That's damn well sure. But to answer Brittany's question, I think probably not well. In my honest opinion, I think that maybe the feds need to step in at some point and fix the mess that they created. And if that means charging her with something, so be it. I mean, they helped create this ridiculous conspiracy by not making a public statement when they cleared everyone. And I think they thought it would be sufficient to talk to the lawyers of these people in the DA's office and say, hey, it's been cleared, and let them say it. The problem with that is if it doesn't come straight from the horse's mouth, the conspiracy still exists, right? And I think they underestimated that. But once they realized that it was going to keep on going, they absolutely 100% should have made a statement. I don't care if it's against their policy. They never do it. That's why. Is they just say, oh, it's against policy, and they never do it. But this is unprecedented what they allowed to happen here. And the favor that was given to Karen Read that wouldn't have been given to anyone else. And all in the end, for all that money to be used to prove that no one else committed the crime. That's a waste of a lot of money. And you got to bet they're probably pretty pissed off about that. What I can tell you is when Josh Levy was out and the new U.S. attorney came in, she was not a happy camper about the way this whole thing happened. And she surely was not happy with the favors Mr. Levy did. There was no reason for the feds to touch this with a 10-foot pole. The evidence was clear. And the fact that they did, and they spent all that money, and then they eventually figured out, like, hey, nobody else is responsible for this. That put a stain on that office. Because you just did a favor for someone just to end up proving that there's no conspiracy, there was no cover-up. That's a wasted amount of time and money and a team to look into it. So I will tell you that the new U.S. attorney, she was livid. Livid. And I would be too. I would be too. Abso-freaking-lutely. You know? That's why you pay attention to anybody who's new, because sometimes they'll start with some comments like agreeing with you or trying to make a compliment, and then they just wait until they can say something stupid. What they don't realize is however many seconds it took you to write something stupid, it takes me about 2 seconds to boot and delete, and it's gone. So you wasted your finger push-ups. I don't deal with that here. If you're here to troll, you will just get booted. I don't care. Sorry, not sorry. Not in my community. That's another thing. When you ask the same question and I answer it over and over and over, and I answer it over and over and over, I'm not going to do that. If you're asking the same question as the same person and I answer it, and then your excuse is asking it again, well, they didn't answer it. I've answered it 100 times. 100 times. I'll always answer questions people ask. But if I have to answer it 5 times for the same person, that's how you know they're trolling. No, you're not getting timed out. You would never get timed out. In order to get timed out, it wouldn't let you like chat. Like it wouldn't let you write a comment. Although sometimes YouTube, and it even does it to me, I'll write a comment like here in StreamYard for it to go onto YouTube. And it'll say YouTube is not, like, basically it turned red and won't let me do it. And I'm like, this is my channel, YouTube, what the hell? So sometimes YouTube actually holds your comment for whatever reason. Sometimes it's like a keyword that you said or a phrase that you said that's like the key they have that sounds like a threat or something like that, even though it's not. And it's AI, it's the algorithm, really. You know? That's okay, Jane. We know you're always here. There's lots of you that watch from the bushes. No, they don't. They don't talk about any of the data or the evidence. All they say is, well, there's reasonable doubt. What reasonable doubt? Give us specifics. And when you're talking about things that come from trial 1 and not even the trial you sat and watched, I have a serious concern about that. That's one of the big ones for me. John's phone not moving after 12:32, and it gets colder and colder until he is found, and the phone is in his pocket. That's the only way, if he just rats her out. And I think, there's a good possibility he might make a deal. He's looking at a lot of time, and there's a lot of evidence against him. So if he wants to make a deal, he's going to have to give up something big, or a lot of someone's. It's one or the other. You got to give up a lot of someone's and a lot of information on other crimes other people did, or something big. It's one or the other. You know? It is a good feeling. It's a very good feeling. That is why every person here that has a wrench is somebody I trust. Oh, I 100% agree with you, Brittany. I think they were fully involved in all of it. They knew what they were doing. Come on. I don't know any attorney that's used Signal. Because technically you're supposed to keep things for up to 10 years. 7 in some states, 10 in others, different states, different rules. If you want to look for a conspiracy, you want to see something shady, what the feds did in this entire case, the favor they did to Karen and her team, that is shady. That is shady as hell. You know? I sure do. I sure do. What about him? I think we've talked about Steve Scanlon. Oh, God, I don't even know the last time we talked about Steve Scanlon, but he was the original person. No, honestly, I don't think it is. I don't, unfortunately, Brittany, I don't. Well, that's exactly what it does, right? It continues on. The problem with that is the U.S. Attorney's Office is not the same person in there anymore that, levies out. So those favors stopped. But do you think somebody's helping him? I just don't know who. Yeah, it's humid here too. I don't know about the city, but it's hot here today. Me either. I either have to be in the water or in the AC. I can't until the sun goes down, because it gets too hot for me. We sure are not dumb, that's for sure. But Steve Scanlon, what's the name of the person? Do you mean John DePetro? He's the only other person I know that goes out there that's sort of thinks she's guilty other than us. Mine is too. I know, my mods are amazing. They are. I have amazing mods. You guys do a great job. A literal great job. You know, the only reason I don't think he will is because I think he still hasn't been charged with all of the crimes that he has committed, to be honest. And that's from personal knowledge of things that I know personally and from other victims who have come forward to me and to other people. So I've seen it. So that's based on my own personal knowledge. I think that the charges he has now are probably not the last charges he'll see. And you have to remember, they're just starting to go through his devices about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. He just gave up the passwords, and there's a lot in there. And if it ties to any of the stuff here, yeah, you can be charged. Yeah, nobody would put you in a timeout. Oh, absolutely. On every single person close to him or helped him in any way, in any criminal acts, he's got blackmail or extortion. It's just like his favorite thing to do, you know? Mm-hmm. She sure did. But Steve Scanlon was the person who ultimately started part of this conspiracy theory, right? He was the PI that talked to David Yannetti, and I can't remember. I mean, they both say different things, obviously. Steve Scanlon and David Yannetti both say a different conversation happened, but of course, David Yannetti says that Steve Scanlon is an informant. The problem with that is Steve Scanlon wasn't there. So his theory of what might have happened is not evidence. He wasn't there. He didn't talk to anybody who was there. So the problem with that is Steve Scanlon, and also Steve Scanlon was wiretapped by the Turtle. So the Turtle illegally recorded Steve Scanlon. And Steve Scanlon, Yannetti was trying to say that Steve Scanlon's the one who pointed out that it could be Colin Albert. Steve Scanlon's like, I don't know who Colin Albert is. And, the Turtle's like, oh, well, so a Turtle said, well, how do you know about Colin Albert? He's like, I don't know. I think I heard it from you. So, it's amazing to me. Also not John. I don't know then. Their stories don't add up. The defense attorney's stories don't add up. Steve Scanlon has no knowledge of anything other than his own, thought of what could have happened. That's not evidence. And then, of course, Steve Scanlon says that he didn't say some of the things that David Yannetti claimed that he said. So, what it sounds like to me is Steve Scanlon was trying to get in on part of this case by maybe being the PI for the defense, and it just didn't work, I don't know. Maybe JLR? I don't know. What do you mean? There's one against her from the O'Keefe family that's ongoing right now. What do you mean? That one's ongoing. Her team put in like a motion to dismiss. That's not going to be dismissed. It's just another way to sort of rile up the mob and get a headline. It's not going to be dismissed. Oh yeah, absolutely. In the AC, I would do the same. If that's who you mean, yes, he does. It's a very real possibility. Bingo! Bingo! I think everybody prays for the comeuppance of people who have put bad karma into this world, who continue to harass and lie and use rumors. Let's be very clear here. I have one account on X. One. I use one account. I want people to know what I am saying is coming from me. Period. Okay? So this whole, these fake accounts, because you don't like me or a couple other people, that all the fake accounts that you interact with or you have anything to do with magically or all of us. Not only is that completely and utterly false, But wasting all that time blaming people who don't even know who any of those accounts are to begin with means you'll probably never figure out who it is because you're wasting your time blaming people you just don't like, which is sad because we don't even know who any of those accounts are. But hey, whatever floats your boat, you want to spend all your time blaming people that have nothing to do with anything. I'll wait for the apology when you eventually figure it out someday somehow. I'll wait for that apology because grown adults do that, right? They apologize when they're wrong and they blame somebody for something they didn't do. Or am I wrong? Do they not apologize? They just act like it never happened, just asking for a friend? Because I'll wait for that apology. I mean, I'm on quite a few. Just saying. Well, I mean, she's factually a liar. You want to use factually, she's a factual liar. A factual liar. They love to say factually innocent. The problem with that is Karen factually lied numerous times. Her stories do not add up to the evidence itself, to the data, or to any of it. So she factually lied, you know? No worries, my friend. You are a multitasker. You've always been a multitasker. What you mean? I think they still probably would have created some sort of conspiracy, but I don't think it would have been as like, hey, there's a dog and it's the people inside the house sort of thing. I think maybe they still would have blamed everyone in the house, but I don't think it would have went as far as it did without Steve Scanlon's whole, like, this is my theory on it. And then David Yannetti using that as, oh, well, that's a witness. You weren't there. You're not a witness. You weren't there, nor did you talk to anybody who was there. So can't be a witness, you know? Ooh, blueberry muffins, those sound good. Actually idiotic. I love that, Jack. You know what I haven't had in a while? Shrimp. Shrimp's really good. Shrimp is really good. I am sure that is time consuming. Mess it up, you could never. Yeah, don't bother. It's a cesspool of hate and anger, and it's a lot of mob mentality, cults, sort of just attacking person after person after person after person. If one person says something that is, you're bad or you did X, Y, and Z, then 100 and then 1,000 of the cult mob mentality people just repeat it without ever knowing if it's true or not. They just assume that everything they say is true, which is so far off base, it's not even funny. And they go, okay, cool, it's true, so we're gonna go with that. And they just attack you over and over with the same nonsensical bullshit that has no basis in reality whatsoever, which is why I just ignore it, because I'm not wasting my time on things I know to not be true. What would be the point of that? Yeah, I know. I think they do. No? Factually guilty. Yeah, I don't know too much about him other than he was here in the first trial. He came by in the first trial. And I don't remember if he did in the second one, maybe in the beginning. I'm not sure. Let's see. Hey, bra commercials. I appreciate you guys. Whether you skip them or watch them, they do help. Watching them helps better, but I appreciate you guys. Right? I didn't know. Thanks for that. Peanut butter balls, dunked on chocolate, yum. You know what I find is funny is that they say shit with not only that it's completely and utterly just not true, but I probably pay more in bills than most of them do. It's amazing. I don't either. It's kind of run of the mill. And I think it was more just the whole noise part of it, where a ton of noise came in and it was like, this is nefarious, this is nefarious, this is bad, this is nefarious, this is bad, this is nefarious. And so they went with all of these, quote, nefarious things that make everybody suspicious except Karen herself. which is not only utterly absurd, but just goes to show that people are clearly easily manipulated this day and age, and that they don't actually take the time out to maybe get to know someone, to get to know a fact, to debunk anything. They just take it for face value and then repeat it on and so forth. And that's why I tell even you guys to be careful. You know, check the information. Even I can get it wrong once in a while, but check the information, because you don't want to spread, and I'm careful about this, more careful than I ever have been. Don't want to spread things that aren't true about someone, because that hurts real people, okay? Real people get hurt with that kind of stuff. Oh, I agree with you. Utterly agree. 1,000% with you, Joan. It was a freaking circus. Judge Cannoni allowed that circus. And I honestly, you know, I've spoken to a couple of retired judges who are like, I would have never allowed that nonsense in my courtroom. Ever. They think that she's too defense leaning and a bit weak, and that this will keep happening in her courtroom as long as she keeps allowing things like this to happen. And I don't doubt that. I hope that she doesn't end up being the trial judge for Brian Walsh, because I don't have faith that he won't get off on chopping up and killing his wife, Anna, who I believe he killed. There's a ton of evidence against him, like a ton. So I did not. Ooh, can you send me that, Brittany? Do you have it on screenshot by any chance? I actually slept through my alarm this morning. My kids had a sleepover at their friend's house, and obviously my hubby got up early to go to work, so I actually slept through my alarm this morning because I kept waking up last night because my legs were killing me. A lot of arthritis pain, and I have fibromyalgia, so for some reason my legs and my knees were really, really hurting me last night, and I kept waking up like every half an hour, so I was tired. I didn't see. Oh, you sent it to me already on X. Oh, I haven't checked X yet today. But after the stream, I absolutely will, because that's what I usually do after the stream is check my emails, check my messages, try to reply to everyone, and make sure that I reply to everyone. So I appreciate you presenting. I appreciate when you guys send me stuff, because I don't always see everything. You know, a lot of the times I've responded to everybody, but by the end of the night, I'm finished responding to everyone. Like as I'm laying in bed watching TV, I make sure I do another round of checking to make sure. And usually by the time I wake up, there's more. So I attempt to get to everything, but usually before I stream, I don't check the messages until after I stream. I should. I just don't. Usually I check it at night so that I almost fully caught up. But because the kids are home, it's not the same as when the kids, were going to school, and I would get up like an hour earlier because I got to do their lunches and all that stuff. They're not in school anymore because it's summer. So it's a little different in the house. It's louder. There's a lot more going on, and making bigger breakfast for the kids. And so I don't always have time, unfortunately. Yeah, it's awful. This, Jack, and me and you have talked about this a lot before, but it does make me think that we are in some serious trouble as a civilization for our country. If people can be this easily manipulated and this easily drowned out with just noise of things that are not true, then I fear a lot for the intelligence, for our safety as a country. There's a lot to fear when it comes to dealing with something like that. I think Hank Brennan sort of pointed it out, which is what happened is the antithesis. Okay. I know, right? Car seat covers that are defective. We talked about that yesterday. It was really funny. But it's the antithesis of what the justice, like what it's not supposed to be, right? If you are taking aim at witnesses to harass their lives and destroy their lives and try to destroy their credibility in a murder trial, and this is allowed to continue on and on and on and on, before you know it, we're going to have murderers walking free left, right and sideways, committing another crime and another crime and another crime, hurting people, killing people, crime going up. This is a very big and large problem that the justice system and the state of Massachusetts needs to start dealing with immediately, because I'm already seeing it in other cases. I'm already seeing it happening in other facets of the system here in Massachusetts, and especially in Norfolk County. They really need to get their shit together. And you guys know I have no love lost for Mike Morrissey, the DA of Norfolk County. I have never been shy about that, okay? Ever. Not ever. And I never will be. I think he's been in office too long. He cares more about optics, and I have said this for a while, than he does the safety of anyone, their families, or making sure. Who the hell is ever going to want to be a witness in any trial, never mind a murder trial in the state of Massachusetts, if they're allowed to be harassed into oblivion with criminal harassment, stalking, and you don't charge those people? Who would ever want to come forward in the state of Massachusetts, specifically in Norfolk County? Who? All Mike Morrissey did was teach people that the optics matter more than actual justice, which means it's time that he is replaced with someone else that will protect people, because it's deplorable behavior. My county would charge these people. My county isn't going to put up with witness intimidation. They're certainly not going to put up with stalking, criminal harassment. Absolutely not. Or dog whistles. It's not going to happen. Norfolk County clearly has a very large issue with giving a fuck more about optics than making sure people are safe. And I have a huge problem with that. So should everyone else that lives in Norfolk County. Because when it becomes you or your family, nobody's going to protect you if you live in Norfolk County. I say move out of Norfolk County as fast as you can. I'm glad I don't live there anymore. Thank you, Brittany. Well, that's half the problem, right? And also why I tend to stay a lot away from X, A, because a lot of rumors happen there, a lot of just bull-faced lies happen there, and B, because it's very hateful and angry. So a lot of the times people will send me what's important. Like I have a couple really close friends that will send me anything they think of relevant that's very important. But I do try a lot of the time to just stay away from X because it's extremely toxic for anyone's mental health, especially if you're being harassed like I am on a daily basis by these people on X. I just tend to check my messages on there and anything that's important, and that's it. Because I'm not going to spend time arguing with people over what is or isn't that I know as a fact. I'm not going to spend time arguing with trolls that say, oh, you're bad because the sewer turtle or one of his minions said so. It's not worth my time or energy at all. So I'm not going to do it. You know, you guys are my priority, not the trolls, you guys. And you guys will always be my priority, not the trolls. You know? Yeah, the routine's different now because the kids are home. So I'm sort of still trying to figure out what the best schedule for you guys is going to be. Because it's summer, almost everybody's schedule has changed a little bit if you have kids. So, you know, I have to go into the analytics and see what is the best time to start the lives in the morning, unless we have a trial, of course. If we have a trial, we know that it'll be starting before trial starts. So usually it's 8:30 in the morning if it's Eastern time, or a little bit later if it's not. So, you know, I gotta sort of figure out, and I want to do one nighttime live for the members. So I gotta sort of figure out a better schedule for that, so that, you know, I can give everybody the time they deserve when it comes to the streams, and make sure that I have, you know, the best cases and subjects that we can go over. That'll be, you know, interesting, intriguing. Cold cases are something I'm very much interested in, because you want to bring light to things that you know, media is great when it first happens or when there's a trial. Once it's over, if there's a case that's cold, media just forgets about it. But what happens to those family members? You know, what happens to them? Like Stacey Peterson's sister. He's in jail for life, right? But Stacey Peterson's body still is not home. You know, there needs to be renewed media attention on certain cases, and some that have never had media attention. that could spark someone's memory. That could help solve a case or at least get more information, right? And if we can help in that way, we're going to attempt to, and we're going to try to. So I think maybe we'll do some of the colder cases at night for like members only streams. We'll do some of the more popular and like cases and cold cases, ones that deserve some attention put on them and to be shared. It's half my problem though, is a judge doesn't get in trouble if one of their things are, you know, overturned, if it's challenged and another court reverses it on appeal. Why be so afraid of appeals other than your record? Does your record matter more than someone's life or for justice itself? I don't think so. You know? Yeah, I know. We'll be talking about that one. That has another date in August. And that was in Malibu, of all places. Malibu. Okay? Yeah, Banana Republic is right, my friend. That's the part that gets me, because I think it's literally going to take them seeing his own messages, disparaging them a lot, and what he actually thinks of them for them to realize. And that's sad. I do not think that Hank Brennan will run for DA. Hank Brennan is more concerned about justice and helping people. He has a real passion and love for making sure that the downtrodden and the person that is the odd man out, the person that has nothing, that they get a fair shake. And he's a very honorable man. DA's office, if he thinks he could make a difference in a good way, maybe, but I don't think he's interested in being DA. He's more interested in trying to make a difference in people's lives and trying to help any way that he can, and it's honorable. You know? Well, that's exactly it, Joan. Jesus, right? I know, I saw that. That was so ridiculous. So ridiculous. And that's what I fear is going to keep happening, right? Over and over and over. That's the kind of stuff. And you're right, Jesus could have been the prosecutor. It doesn't matter who was because of that circus, unfortunately. I mean, maybe one day he will be a judge. Who knows? You know, I think he does a fantastic job as an attorney. Thank God. And you never know, though. She is the, you know, head justice. So at any point, she could say, all right, I'm taking that one. So, and they rotate. What happens is they rotate. So up until the trial, they rotate hearings. They rotate every couple of months, the judges. And so, you know, at any point, you could say, all right, I'm taking this trial. So you never know. Yep, no stalking and criminal harassment. Sorry. I know, it was a shame. A damn shame. You know? Well, I will tell you why. Hank feels like, probably, that him speaking right now is not going to help the O'Keefe family, and it may bring them more pain because people will just hit back. No matter what he says, they're just going to talk about it and then hit back, hit back, hit back. And so that, and in itself, he feels like is just going to hurt the witnesses in O'Keefe family. So he would rather not. And I understand 100% why, and that makes total sense to me. He could make as many statements as he wants, but ultimately, what are those statements going to do but draw attention back to the mob and the craziness and allow them to continue to harass? So I get why, you know, this case and then all the other ones they jump on afterwards, because it's the same set of people over and over, you know? And that's exactly it, sort of taking the high road, right? You know? Yeah. Oh, immunity? Like what? You know, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Insane to me. Absolutely bananas, if you ask me. 1 second, guys. Jack sends 1111. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for your donation. If you, like Jack and Grave, want to send a donation, we appreciate it. There are a bunch of different ways to do so. Venmo, Cashapp, PayPal, Revolut for those of you who are out of country. And also the link that works for people out of country as well. That's up in the chat. It's pinned to the top. You can use credit or debit for that. It also works for people who are not in the country of the United States. So you can definitely support the channel one of those ways. You can hit the like button, the subscribe button, the share button. We appreciate it. I just block them because it's endless arguments over shit they know nothing about and just the mantras that they have been fed. And that's all they repeat over and over and over. You know, that's what they do. Yes, I am. I saw that. So I guess we'll find out what they're going to do about letting the cameras in, because unfortunately, if it's going to be what we saw this morning with not being able to hear anything, I don't know if it's worth it covering it if you can't hear anything. So they really need to do some work on fixing whatever audio issues they're dealing with, because you can't hear anything. You know, the closed captionings are kind of what helped us hear most of what was going on. And for a long hearing like that, they didn't do a whole lot. That is for sure. I can tell you that much. Well, for the better of other people, that's how. You know, he's not thinking about himself right now. He's thinking about the people who are dealing with this endless harassment and not getting any help from the state. So he's not trying to sort of contribute to that in any way. Oh yeah, they absolutely did, but you won. But you won because what they did was wrong and you were able to prove it. And you did an amazing job. Right, and you should. And you should, my friend. You won that case. If I were you, I would sue now, you know? Right. For now, at least, for a while. And I understand. Exactly. There is a reason why he released it to Julie Rand on Court TV and not some of the other stations. Let's make that clear. You know? That's all they do. Is rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Yeah, I mean, I have my suspicions on that whole thing. I think there are definitely some statements that mom made that are a little concerning. But I don't like to jump to the conclusion of blaming parents or anyone else for that matter until you get the facts of all of it. I do think that, you know, some mistakes were definitely made. And sick people, though, they hide. They hide well. They integrate themselves well. You know, being a victim myself of dealing with childhood stuff like that, they somehow lead you to believe that they're decent people, at least the adults, and that they're not, you know, predators. It's unfortunate. So this is actually here, the opening statements. I think we could watch real quick, the opening statements, at least, of the attempted honor killing trial. These are the parents, right? And if you listen to the opening statements, it kind of gives you an idea of the case itself. So we're going to listen to the opening statements of this. We're into 3 hours now, so it's going to be a little bit with these opening statements, and then I'm going to wrap up because I want to go over other things tomorrow, but I want to get this in because it's something that I was interested in. And again, a lot of people don't want to talk about cases like this because it involves someone's, whether it's an adult child or you know, it involves parents and their child. But if we don't talk about it and sweep it under because it's taboo, then the victims don't feel like they can speak out either because it's taboo. We don't want that, right? The victims need to feel safe enough to come to someone, and it doesn't matter who, and speak their truth. And the only way we do that is by not sweeping it under the rug and not making it a taboo subject to talk about, and letting people know that if you're a victim, there are safe places to go and people to talk to, and we won't do na and put our fingers in our ears and not cover it because it's a taboo subject. it's interesting, it's strange, but okay, so I don't know how long they all are because I didn't obviously watch them yet this morning, but I have it on pause right here. I think we'll have time to watch these opening statements. So let's see. Yeah, it is a little crazy to me that New York, I mean, the problem I have with that is it's a public trial. New York, public trial. So you're going to fit all of the public into your courtroom? If you're not, then that's why somebody needs to challenge it. If somebody challenged it via the law, I think you'd find that they would be. Yeah, same thing in Maryland. I think you'd find that they would have to put cameras there because it's a public trial, but somebody would actually have to challenge that in a court of law. So I didn't tell anybody until I was in my early 20s. That's how long I held on to that. Other victims of the same person didn't say anything until they were in their late 20s. Some of them still have said nothing to anybody like in their family, but I've talked to some of us, our other victims, when they knew we existed. And they're in their 30s. Some people take it to their grave. Especially when you're a kid, you're afraid. You're scared. They're going to do something. They threaten you to your family while you're sleeping. And so you say nothing. You say nothing. And she was only 13. Madeline Soto was only 13. It's very, very sad. So unfortunately, double jeopardy applies everywhere. It's not just Massachusetts. But there's one way around double jeopardy, which is you can be charged state-wise and you can be charged federal-wise. So, for instance, if the state wanted to charge Matthew Farwell, right, they could charge him with murder, and the federal government could charge him with murder. That is not double jeopardy. The state's not going to charge him with it because the federal government already did, so there's really no reason to, but some states do. Some states will. New York being one of them, where they will charge you federally and state if they want. I've seen it in New York a few times. Some states won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. They'll allow, the federal government to do it, and so the state won't charge because the federal government did. But I've also seen states that will do both. So, well, that's another problem, right? Is you never want to cast aside a victim because they might have something shady in their past or something that's perceived shady, but they don't actually know the story, because no one really knows someone's story unless you walk a mile in their shoes. Okay. And I especially see it happen to people like me who used to be addicts, who have been sober. I mean, I've been sober closer to 20 years, over 10, over 15, closer to 20. And I see it happen to a lot of people like me who had, a drug addiction at one point, where people will cast aside things that they dealt with. Why do you think they turn to kill the pain? You think for funsies? Most of the time, it's from a pretty horrific tragedy or trauma. Okay. So, yeah, civil is also different. So it's not the same. A criminal trial has nothing to do with a civil trial. So if you're suing, like the O'Keefes are, for wrongful death, for Karen Reed, for criminal stuff, besides evidence that they could use in the civil trial, one has nothing to do with the other. So the outcome of the criminal trial, Karen being found not guilty on those, has absolutely zero to do with the civil trial. So they can't go in there and be like, but Your Honor, she was found not guilty on these charges in a criminal. That's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. So those are two different things. Well, that's it. That's that as well. Is it could just make shit up, which happens a lot. Like a lot, a lot when it comes to these people. A lot. They will literally just make everything and anything up they have to make you, quote, bad. Okay? So, yeah, no, that's 100% false. I don't know who said that, but probably someone who's an idiot. They absolutely can sue her for wrongful death She does not have to be convicted. The civil case has absolutely zero to do with the criminal case. So whoever said that is an idiot. No, most of the time, civil cases will pause, the judges will pause them during criminal trials and let the criminal trial play out first before the civil trial goes forth for various reasons. A lot of the time because evidence comes out in criminal trial that they're going to want to use in the civil trial. And if you do it ongoing, and people try to bring things in last minute, and it's a whole shit show. So most of the time, yeah, shocker. Yeah, no, they absolutely can sue her for wrongful death. She does not have to be convicted of anything. The civil case and the criminal case are two completely separate and different things. One has nothing to do with the other. So this is why we don't listen to idiots that say stupid shit like that. Clearly did no research whatsoever before stating that to people either. That's the part that gets me. One clueless co-host of the arms thing. I have no idea. I don't watch any of those people. Remember that. I don't watch any of those people. I don't watch any of those people. So I don't know who has a arms thing, but I don't watch any of those people. I have no idea. But we're gonna watch these opening statements because this sort of gives you an idea of this case itself.
Or different interpreter this morning, one, and therefore I need to swear that interpreter in. If she would come forward, please.
Swearing the interpreter
to the podium. Good morning. And do you have an oath on file with the Administrative Office of the Courts in Washington?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will make a true interpretation to Mr. Ali and Mrs. Ali of all things said in court, translating them to a language which they understand, and that you would repeat back any statements that they have for the court, translating them to English to the best of your ability?
I do.
And will you please state your name and credentials?
Sure. For the record, my name is Christine Fatouche, Fattouche, certified Arabic language interpreter.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Ms. Stone, any preliminary issues from the state this morning?
No, Your Honor, not from the state.
Thank you. Mr. Kading, any preliminary issues this morning? No. And Mr. Kading, do you intend to give an opening statement this morning, or do you intend to reserve?
I will give one.
Thank you. Mr. O'Leary, any preliminary issues this morning?
Good morning, Your Honor. No.
And do you intend to give an opening statement or reserve? Thank you. Please bring in the jury.
All right, let's get on with it here, people. I hate when they take these long pauses. Here we go.
Good morning, members of the jury, and welcome back. As I told you on Thursday, what we are starting with this morning, we'll start with opening statements. So at this time, if you would please give your attention to Ms. Zoe as she makes an opening statement on behalf of the plaintiff, the state of Washington.
Some mother.
Get off of her. Let go of her. Somebody call the cops. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, those were some of the frantic words from numerous Timberline High School students as they watched the defendant, Ihsan Ali, put his 17-year-old daughter, Fatima Ali, in a headlock at the inner city transit bus stop in front of Timberline High School. Those were the same frantic words from the same set of students as they watched Mr. Ali compress Fatima's neck until her eyes rolled into the back of her head, until her face turned pale, and until she lost consciousness. And those were the same frantic words from the same set of students as they watched the defendant, Zahra Ali, who arrived at the bus stop scene later on, and rather than help her daughter, Mrs. Ali also put her hands and arms around her daughter's neck and compressed and squeezed until somebody was finally able to pull Fatima to safety. During the course of this trial for the next few weeks, you will hear from those students, and they will tell you the following. They will tell you that on October 18th of 2024, the students were going to the IT bus stop in front of Timberline High School after school let out for the day shortly after 2 p.m. They will tell you that when they got to the bus stop, they saw Fatima there, and they also saw her boyfriend, Isaiah, there. The students will tell you that as they were at the bus stop minding their own business and waiting for the bus to show up, Fatima's father arrived. And shortly after his arrival, an argument ensued between Mr. Ali and his daughter, Fatima. The students will tell you that during the course of that argument, Isaiah tried to help Fatima. And as a result of that, Mr. Ali punched Isaiah in the face. You will hear that Mr. Ali punched Isaiah so hard that it caused Isaiah herself. And during the trial, she will tell you many things. She will tell you about the relationship she had with her parents. And she will also tell you that in the early morning hours of October 18th of 2024, Fatima decided to run away from home. And she's going to tell you the reason why she ran away from home. Fatima will tell you that later that day, she went to Timberline High School, the school that she used to attend, and she spoke with her former counselor. Fatima will also tell you that her plan was to board the inner city transit bus so she can go to Haven House, which is a youth residential shelter. Fatima will tell you that after she got to the bus stop, she saw that her father also arrived at the bus stop. After her father arrived at the bus stop, Mr. Ali started to yell at Fatima to try to get her to go home with him. Fatima will tell you that she told her dad that she didn't want to go home at that time. And she will also tell you that a struggle ensued, and when Isaiah, her boyfriend, tried to help her, Mr. Ali punched Isaiah in the face. Fatima will tell you that after Mr. Ali punched Isaiah in the face, he then proceeded to grab her and wrap his arm around her neck. She will tell you that after that, things became a little bit blurry and a little bit hazy for her, and she doesn't remember much about what happened after her father put his arms around her neck because she eventually lost consciousness. Fatima will tell you that when she came to, she saw that her mother was also on the ground with her, and rather than helping her, her mother at one point also wrapped her arms around Fatima's neck, which caused Fatima to have difficulty breathing. Fatima will tell you that at some point, somebody was able to pull her up from the ground, and after that, she and Isaiah ran into the Timberline High School building to seek safety and shelter.
Also, to be clear here, the daughter survived them trying to kill her. Okay, so she's not dead. She's alive. And so she, is going to testify in this on how the parents threatened her with an honor killing because she wouldn't marry an older man that they had arranged from a different country. She had a boyfriend. And so this is what happened.
Another set of witnesses you will hear from are the school employees, and they will tell you about a no trespass order that was issued against Mrs. Ali, prohibiting her from being inside Timberline High School. They will also tell you about a no contact order that was issued prohibiting Mrs. Ali from having any contact with Isaiah, from having any contact with Isaiah's place of residence, and from having any contact with his school, which was Timberline High School. The school employees will tell you that on October 18th of 2024, a little bit after when school let out at approximately 2 p.m., a frantic and scared Fatima and Isaiah ran into the front office area. And they will tell you that when Fatima ran inside, she was screaming, "My dad tried to kill me." The school employees will tell you that shortly after Fatima and Isaiah ran into the building, Zara Ali also ran into the building. The employees will tell you that knowing that Zara could not be there, they tried to get Zara to leave. Eventually, after Zara left the school building, the school employees placed the school on lockdown for the safety of the students. Another set of witnesses you will hear from are the law enforcement officers from the Lacey Police Department. And they will tell you about the investigation that they conducted in this case. They will tell you about the individuals that they interviewed, and they will also tell you about the video footage of the bus stop incident that they received and collected as part of this case. You will, in fact, get to see the videos for yourself during the course of this trial. And finally, another set of witnesses you will hear from are the medical professionals from Providence. And they will tell you about the effects of strangulation on the human body. They will also tell you about the injuries that they observed on Fatima. You will hear that Fatima had abrasions, she had bruising, and she also had petechia on her neck and on her face. And the medical professionals will also tell you that due to what happened at the bus stop, Fatima was also diagnosed with a condition called pneumomedium sinum, which is in essence when air leaks out of your lungs into other parts of your body. And the medical professionals will tell you that due to what happened at the bus stop, Fatima ended up being admitted to the hospital for several days. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there will be lots of evidence that will be presented during this trial. You will see lots of photos and you will see many videos. I also ask that you pay close attention to the testimony of the witnesses from the witness stand, because what you will not get when you go back to deliberate is that you will not get their taped statements, you will not get medical records that were in this case, and you will not get the police reports in this case. So I ask that you pay close attention to the testimony of witnesses. And then at the end of this trial, my co-counsel, Heather Stone, will come back before you and deliver her closing arguments. And at the end, we ask that you return a verdict of guilty on all charges against both Mr. Ihsan Ali and Mrs. Zara Ali. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the jury, if you will now please give your full attention to Mr. Kading as he makes opening statement on behalf of defendant Mr. Ali.
Hey, good morning. A couple of things. This case is about October 18th of 2024. October 18th, 2024 was not a day like any other day. You're going to hear from witnesses about what happened that day. I'm going to tell you the day started early, about 4 a.m. You're going to hear Fatima say that she left her house. She ran away from home. She didn't tell anybody. She had never said anything about leaving home. She knew for a fact she was going to be traveling later that day. She didn't talk to her parents about what was happening in terms of her not wanting to go. She didn't make any complaints to them. She just got up early and left the house. Her parents, concerned when they woke up, they called the police and made a report that she had run away. They went out and looked for her. They talked to the police throughout the day. You're going to hear from Officer Hang, who's going to say, yeah, he talked to them throughout the day. They were never told one thing about where she was that day. You're going to hear she was at Timberline High School for most of the day. You're going to hear that she had told people she had run away. But you're also going to hear they never relayed that information to the parents. You're going to hear that Mr. Ali went to the school to look for her. You're going to hear that he was sitting in his car waiting after school to see if he could see her come out. And you're going to see that he saw her. What you're also going to hear is from Isaiah Williams. Isaiah Williams saw Mr. Ali's truck before Mr. Ali saw him. And he said to his friend, when he saw him sitting there, before anything had happened, he said, be ready. It's an unusual statement, but that's what he said. You are going to hear that Mr. Ali had a conversation with his daughter about coming home. He was not yelling, not out of anger at that point. And you're going to hear that Isaiah and Fatima started struggling. Isaiah inserted himself into the situation. He got between mother and daughter. He was going to be, as a 16-year-old kid, the person making decisions apparently in this case. You're going to hear him testify that he was punched. But you're going to watch video in this case. And it's very important, the video in this case, because this incident was captured on video in its entirety. People are going to testify to different things, but I want you to be careful about what they say versus what you see. They're different, and you're going to see that. I'm going to ask you to take careful notes of what people say. And I'm going to ask you to carefully watch the videos that are going to come up here. And I'm going to ask you to compare them. You're going to see that credibility is an issue in this case. People don't always remember what's going on. Fortunately, for Mr. Ali and his wife in this case, it's on video. People relayed to the police what they said happened. It's different than what's on the video. So I want you to pay close attention to everything. Next thing we're going to talk about is the medical in this case. You've heard that Fatima had some abrasions, some petechias, those sort of injuries. And you're also going to hear about this pneumomediastinum. Okay? This condition is when you have air in your cavity of your chest. And it happens in different ways. And you're going to hear two main ways it happens. One is puncture injuries. In this case, there was no puncture injury. The other way that it happens is if you have blunt force trauma, the most common way, likely what happened in this case. Blunt force trauma, as it was explained, and the doctors will tell you, causes this injury because if you hold your breath and then you hit the ground, your lungs are like a balloon. And if you hit the ground, sometimes that balloon will pop. So if you hold your breath, it's going to pop. If your mouth is open when you hit the ground, it's not likely to cause any problems because the air will just expel out your mouth. The other thing you're going to note in this case is pneumomediastinum is not a life-threatening injury. You're going to be told that it's a condition that you can get and it needs to be monitored for some time and see if it resolves. You're going to hear the doctors tell you that by 8:43 a.m. the next morning they did a chest x-ray of Fatima and the condition had resolved. It's not life-threatening. It was not something they monitored after that point. There was no evidence of it occurring other than for one incident. Likely,
that's rich.
Trauma, which you'll see in the video, could have been caused in New York.
Oh.
One of them falling to the ground.
That they caused?
Because you're going to see in the video,
parents caused?
They didn't really fall to the ground. You're going to see that Isaiah Williams attacked Mr. Ali. Him and Fatima were knocked to the ground after hitting a tree.
Please.
Knocked to the ground where punching and kicking occurred. You're going to see 42 punches.
Right, so they go after
All done.
the daughter if they're fighting with the boyfriend? Makes sense, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Terrible defense, by the way.
So, what I'm going to tell you is, I want you to pay close attention. I want you to listen to the evidence. I want you to weigh the evidence. And I want you to compare what people say to what you see.
What people say? That's like telling them to go online and read.
There's going to be a lot of issues that come up in this case that you'll hear. I'm not going to lay everything out for you now.
Because you can't.
But you'll know when it happens that if you're taking notes, you're paying attention, you're going to see at the end of this case that Mr. Ali is not guilty of the crimes he's charged with. The state is not going to be able to prove to you what's happening.
They can. Was an eyewitness.
That's their obligation.
The victim.
Pay attention.
Just saying.
Take notes. At the end of the case, we're going to come back and sum things up. We're going to ask you to find Mr. Ali not guilty.
Of an attempted honor killing? Yeah, no.
Members of the jury, if you will now please give your full attention to Mr. Larry as he makes opening statement on behalf of defendant Mrs. Ali.
I mean, they're pretty short, huh? Short opening statements here? For each defendant and then the state?
Good morning.
When asked what happened with her mom on October 18th, 2024, the incident outside of Timberline High School captured on the bus video, Fatima Ali, 17, will tell you, I don't think that my mom was trying to hurt me. I think that she was trying to protect me from the chaos. She appeared worried. She appeared scared. She was worried for me. There is one word that you will hear likely throughout the testimony of these witnesses, one observation that you will
I heard there was
attached to this incident when you watch the video, and that is chaos.
Shocker.
Absolute and utter chaos on a small patch of land next to the bus stop outside of the high school. Now, fortunately, in 2024 and 2025, you are not going to have to rely exclusively on the testimony of teenagers and adults trying to describe for you what they saw in that chaotic moment, what they were focused on, what they happened to see, what they believed they saw. Because in addition to their testimony and their personal observations, you will have the opportunity to compare, contrast, and analyze numerous videos. We are fortunate that the transit bus was pulling up for its stop to pick up its kids on its normal run of the day. And being 2024, that bus was outfitted with approximately 8 cameras, front, back, right side, left side, inside. Now, there are certain cameras that are more valuable to this analysis, certainly the front-facing one.
Washington.
The bus driver, who you're going to likely
It's a state.
today, will tell you what he saw, how he stopped the bus, and he will walk you through what that camera shows and what we can see. Now, video doesn't capture everything. We all know that. But it provides a baseline. It tells us timing. It tells us who is visible when people arrive on the scene. Now, we are focused on October 18th. That day began at 4 o'clock in the morning. See, my client had a trip planned to travel with her daughter and her younger son. What my client didn't know is that her 17-year-old daughter did not want to travel with her mom. Despite the decision to simply abandon this trip, she never communicated to her mom. She never communicated to her dad. Hey, do I really have to go? I don't know that I really want to go. Can we do something else? Are there alternatives?
Please.
Instead, she ran away. 4 o'clock in the morning.
Gee, I wonder why.
Didn't have a large amount of money on her, didn't leave a note, didn't tell her parents where she was going.
If you're running away for safety, you're not going to do any of those things. FYI.
Understandably, mom and dad were worried. Their response is they drove around Olympia looking for her. Fatima will tell you that throughout the day, on various occasions, she could see her dad's truck. And before he noticed her, she would hide, get out of view. At the end of the day, or towards the late afternoon, there's the incident at the bus stop. She sees her dad approaching. She lets Isaiah know. Isaiah will tell you that he told his friends, there's her dad, get ready. It's not exactly clear what they're getting ready for.
To deal
but that is what is said.
With crazy
now,
parents.
Up an opening, and this will be, throughout trial. We have different perspectives, different takes, different things that get focused on.
Different takes. Not the facts are different.
The state
Different
said
takes.
There will be testimony that Mr. Ali ran up angry and was upset and yelling. You'll also hear Fatima describe her dad.
Doesn't make sense.
That he walked up, he was talking in a quiet voice. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't screaming.
Just threatening in a quiet voice. Oftentimes abusers do that first
There's the
before they flip.
And you will see that the bus video captures it, not from the outset, but very close to the outset. You will see the actions of Mr. Ali, Isaiah, his friends, the people standing by, their daughter. You see the bus driver stop. He gets out, attempts to intervene. You will then
Why does it need to?
The passersby who then stop,
Intervene.
attempt to intervene, separate, and hold Mr. Ali on the ground.
Gee, I wonder why.
Around this time, you will then see my client, her mom, come and attempt to help her daughter. Now, we have the video from the bus. There's additional cell phone videos that you will see. You will see her. She is holding onto her daughter. She's not holding onto her neck. Fatima describes her mom as saying, my daughter, my daughter. You will see Fatima's eyes wide. She is just gathering her wits after this whole chaos and melee when she is under her dad.
Melee?
Her dad is being punched and kicked repeatedly while on top of her. She's in the arms of her mom.
Why is he on top of her?
Isaiah is attempting to remove her from the scene, pull her away from her mom, and eventually they run into the school. I don't believe that my mom intended to harm me. She was just trying to get me away from the chaos.
By strangling
She
you?
looked worried. She was simply saying, my daughter, my daughter.
People who are abused oftentimes cover for their abusers at first. It's part of the abuse cycle.
Behind. She runs into the school. Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? Ladies and gentlemen, that is the accusations against my client. For
No, it
what
isn't.
She did, attempting to hold her daughter.
Choking.
In the state's eyes,
It's not holding.
the allegation of attempted murder.
Yeah, you can't choke someone.
That act, that is the allegation of assault in second degree. And unlawful.
Let me also throw something out there. Right, so demure. My abuser's favorite method of abusing me was not only to choke me, but to put his hand over my nose and mouth so that I couldn't breathe until I passed out or almost passed out. Okay? Favorite form of control was hands around the neck and hand over the mouth and face to A, keep me quiet, and B, probably almost to kill me at numerous occasions. Doesn't shock me. You cannot choke someone out and then say it's not attempted murder. It is, you can crush their windpipe. To hold your daughter or hold her down does not require hands around the neck. Let's just throw that out there. So that argument is, in my opinion.
Imprisoning her 17-year-old daughter.
I think I've seen the whole thing,
Charged with burglary in the
but I'm starting to question if I have seen the whole thing.
Into the school to try to find her daughter.
Maybe parts were missing. I have to go back and look
Charged
again.
with a violation of a protection order that she had been served 2 days before that said that she could not have contact with Isaiah, her daughter's boyfriend. You will hear from the officer who served her that order. You may or may not see the video of that interaction.
Yeah, especially parents.
As you probably surmised, my client is not an English speaker. She is served.
What does that have anything to do with
an
anything?
order that says that she is to stay away from Isaiah Williams. The officer tells her you can't have contact with him, you can't reach out to him. The order and all of its peculiarities is written in English.
That's the excuse for using. Come on.
She knows some English. The purpose for being there that day was not to have contact with Isaiah. It was to locate her daughter. This case, there's no winners. I appreciate you taking the time and the service to be here and to listen intently. And I'm confident, particularly with the benefit of the video and listening to the witnesses, you'll reach a just decision and conclude that my client is not guilty of the allegations alleged by the state of Washington. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okie dokie.
The state may call its first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls John Danapola.
So the state's calling, their first witness on this. Yeah, I mean, it's not. You don't put hands around someone's neck. But I have experience with this when it comes to an abuser. I've seen a couple versions of it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again because now I'm questioning whether the versions I have are full or not. I believe they are, but I have to go back and watch it again just to make sure there's no parts missing. It looks like obviously it starts before the video starts, unless the beginning part is missing. But that's at least what I see on the one that I have. Yeah, I know. Well, clearly that's not, hey, I'm holding my daughter down. You're trying to kill her when somebody's dragging you off and you're still trying to choke someone out. That's, yeah. I've seen that part. I question the beginning part, whether it's clipped or whether it just doesn't show the actual beginning and it only starts like a little bit after. So I think I have two versions, maybe three of it that I watched. One of them is shorter than the other two. So I know that one's clipped because I've seen the longer version. So, I mean, she's a teenager. She's almost an adult, 17, I think, at the time. But she obviously survived. She's alive. And so she's a witness. That's, you have to wonder, right? If you're willing to do that to your child who's almost a young woman, what do you do to your wife? Because I'll tell you right now, abusers don't just magically not abuse other people. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. They will abuse other people. One person isn't enough, especially if that person's gone. Now they have they need to take it out on someone else. That's the way it works. Abusers don't magically stop doing it. And I also think, a lot of the time the courts will make them take domestic violence classes, which my abuser had to do. What did that change? Did my abuser magically stop being an abuser after he took those classes? Absolutely not. It was a waste of time, energy. The only thing the state got out of that was money, which is why I know they do it, because you have to pay for those. The perpetrator has to pay for those classes. He went on years to abuse numerous other women after me and have to deal with the court system. She ran away and didn't leave a note, and you're using that as somehow like, of course she didn't leave a note. She's running away from the abuse. I did that in foster homes. I ran away from the abuse. And as a matter of fact, I used to walk the main road, which is kind of like a strip of not highway, but like a main route. And I would walk the main road as a foster kid waiting for the police to pick me up. I wasn't trying to hide from them. I just wanted out of the abusive situation. And sadly, they kept bringing me back and back and back until the very last time when they picked me up and they brought me back to the station. And I said, if you do not bring me somewhere else, I will run away every hour on the hour and waste a lot of time and resources. Do not bring me back there. They don't have a lot of spots for foster kids, so they just keep bringing me back, no matter what you say. And you don't just run away with no note for no reason. There's no note because she's hiding. I did that for months and months and months. I hid at a friend's house, didn't tell anybody except 2 people where I was. Hid. I was technically a runaway from the system because they kept putting me in abusive situations and then they don't help you. So, sorry, I'm going to go somewhere where I'm safe. And if that means not telling anybody where I am and hiding there, then that's damn well what I'm going to do. 100%. You know, definitely a pattern. That's what abusers do. Okay, good. That's where I'm going to look and make sure that I've seen the full version. Well, that's what they tried to do, was an arranged marriage for this young woman with a very older man from a different country. And when she refused, they got angry. She had a boyfriend, you know, and this whole thing happened. It's unfortunate. You cannot, this is a crime. This is not, oh, they didn't do anything wrong. They're just worried parents that put their hands around their daughter's neck. That is not worried parents. That is control. That's coercive control and abuse. And it is not okay under any circumstances. People also sometimes fail to understand that you can be abused without dealing with physical violence as well. There are plenty of people who are controlled with mental, emotional abuse and coercive control, where things are held over their head, things like debit cards, cars, their children, all sorts of different things. If you do not do this, I will do this to you. If you do not do this, I'll do this to you. I'll take the card. I won't let you see your family. I'll disappear you. Threats of violence, all sorts of stuff, okay? You don't have to be physically beat up like I was or other people were to deal with abuse. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that they're being abused, even if he doesn't punch you in the face. If he is using coercive control, or she, over you, that is abusive. That is abusive. You know, I feel like that's got to be a Stockholm syndrome sort of thing, because there's no way they would be abusing this young woman and not the sister as well. She would get the same treatment, in my opinion, which is why I believe it's probably Stockholm syndrome. It's a real thing where people protect their abusers at first and until they start to see that the behavior is not okay, especially if that's something they've seen their whole lives. A lot of times they will protect the abusers for years and years and years and years and years. Most of us who didn't, you know, only see that from childhood on, sort of figure it out after a while and just like, you know what, I'm not, like, you're afraid, but at what point are you going to finally say, I'm going to take the chance with calling the authorities and getting help? And usually we do. And thankfully, obviously I did. And the time that I did, I probably would have died if I didn't, to be honest with you. And best decision I ever made in my life. I was free. I was free for the first time in many years. And, you know, it's unfortunate because the restraining order didn't stop him. I had a restraining order when that call was made. So, and it was broad daylight. People watched, punch that car window out, drag me from the driver's side through the passenger side, by the hood of my sweatshirt, grab me and throw me in the house. Thankfully, he had left that Nextel sitting on the table, which was right inside the door. And I dialed 911 and I threw it under the bed because he had cut the phone cord in the house. And I literally mean cut so that it doesn't go back and it will cut. It is disabling. So, you know, she's probably a victim too. I remember that. I remember that one. I also remember the cab driver one that killed his 2 daughters. That was awful because they had boyfriends. it was a whole thing. Oh, that's awful. That is just terrible. Well, see, and that's the thing. They had the choices, and so the parents did not like it. That's very clear to me in this case. It's very sad. Nobody deserves this type of abuse or any type of abuse. Anybody who's been a survivor of this kind of abuse, whether it be from a parent or a significant other, or, you know, thankfully it was a whole nother lifetime ago in my life with my abuser. It's been, you know, a long time, but I never forget that feeling. I'll never forget the way that you feel so helpless and afraid, like you're going to die. I will never, ever forget that feeling, no matter what. And it just sits with you forever. And it sort of makes you want to be able to help other people in that scenario, or because you can spot it a mile away now. Now that you have been through it, you can spot abusers real quick. There's a lot of red flags that pop up quickly, and you're like, uh-oh, I think this is trouble. My husband has stopped a couple domestics between people. I remember one time he was on his motorcycle and I was in the car behind him years ago, and we were driving through Whitman Center going towards the Brockton side, and there was a guy literally throwing hands at his girlfriend, and my husband was in front of me. He pulled over, and so I pulled over thinking maybe something was wrong with the bike, and then I looked over and I saw what was happening. My husband hopped right off of his bike with no ifs, ands, or buts, and of course I put the car in park, did the same, and my husband ripped him off, and I, you know, pushed the woman further down. And I'm like, listen, you don't have to put up with that. My husband called the cops. Like, if you need help, we will help you. Place to stay, clothes, like, you don't have to deal with this. This is not okay. And I remember one time my husband being at work and a similar situation happened. He hopped out of his work truck, and I remember one of his work buddies was like, don't get involved. It's none of your business. And my husband's like, it's right in front of me. How can you just say it's none of your business and walk on by? If that woman ends up dead, how do you feel? By doing nothing. By doing nothing. How many times I screamed for help? And even if there was people there, no one helped. They were either too afraid of them, you know, afraid themselves, or they don't want to get involved. It's not their business. Made it my business. And you did it in public, in front of me, and I will never stand there and watch something like that happen to someone and not intervene. Nor will my husband, because he knows what I went through. I see myself in all of those people. So if there's a way I can help, I'm going to. I remember one time I had a friend called me. I could hear the screaming, I could hear the yelling. She told me what was going on. I said, go in the bathroom and lock the door. Barricade it if you have to. I am on my way. I got there. I took my phone out. The door was unlocked in the house. I went in, and you could still hear him banging at the door, screaming for her to come out. And I took the phone and I said, I lit it up and I said, I have the police on the phone and you have 3 minutes to leave before they get here. And he skedaddled right out of that house, right out of that house. And I took her and her kids back to my house. Thankfully, he didn't know where I lived. So yeah, it is my business when you're doing it in front of me. I have no fear walking into a scenario like that because I've dealt with it. And because of the fact that I've dealt with it, I will never, I don't care if I have to kick a door down to make sure somebody is okay. Would never be able to listen to that, knowing what's happening, or watch it and do nothing. I don't know how people do that. I honestly don't. Or they just, like people said earlier, you just record it. You record it, but you don't intervene. Shame on you. If someone ends up dying because you didn't intervene, how are you going to feel as a human being? That you could have done something, but you didn't. I refuse to do that. Sorry, not sorry. And sometimes even when someone's not asking for your help, they might need it. can tell you that much. You know? My husband did nothing wrong. I mean, lady, are you serious? like seriously? Ooh, I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna have to watch that interview. I mean, it's awful. It's awful. No one should have to go through that. No one. So, all right, been here almost 4 hours. I'm starting to get hungry. I need to go eat something. A couple other things I got to do today. Tomorrow's show will not be until after 1 o'clock because I have 2 doctor's appointments in the morning. So I will not be available morning time. So we won't start our show until probably around 1, maybe 1:15 if I'm running late. That's the earliest I can start the show tomorrow. So I apologize. It's going to be a little later than normal, but I got appointments, got to take care of my own health. So that will be a little later than it normally is. On your way out, do me a favor and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you share the video with a friend. Put your notifications on. Make sure that little bell goes from most to all. You have to change it yourself. Even when you subscribe, it stays at most. You have to change it yourself to all so that every time I go live, you'll get a little boop notification on YouTube or wherever else. If you'd like to help out the channel, we rely solely on the kindness of all of you. And so there are a multitude of ways to do that. Even if you're on the replay crew, we will read it again. Oh, I got a $10 donation last night. I'm not going to say the name, but they were watching a replay. I appreciate you for that. That just reminded me of that. So if you ever give a donation, when I'm not live, I will always make sure that I read it on the next one and remember to read it and say thank you because it's my way of acknowledging that you were watching the replay and it came through, and I appreciate you for that. So if you're on my replay crew, I appreciate all of you, per usual, for being on the replay crew. And if you make a donation from one of these options, which is Venmo, PayPal, Revolut, Cash App, and in the description of the video, all that stuff exists, including the link that we have in chat right now. That's also in the description of the video. That is you can use credit or debit with that. You just click on it, put the amount in you want, and use your credit or debit card. And that works for people out of country as well. So there's always an option for everyone. All of the information is on the main part of our YouTube channel, along with our wish list and including everything in the video description itself. So I love your stinking faces. You guys all know how to get in touch with me. Email, DM, whether it's X or YouTube or Facebook. I'll always get back to you. If there's something super interesting you find, I love getting those from you guys and a little bit of information on it. I appreciate all y'all who always come and watch and hang out. I love my community. I love your stinking faces. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have an amazing day.